We help aspiring kettlebell coaches become confident as kettlebell practitioners and educators in only 10 weeks. If you want to find out more about our method, check the first link in the description and sign up for our waiting list. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Kettle Nights podcast. Today I have with me Coach Michael Son, an internationally recognized kettlebell sport coach. We got connected through, I think it was Instagram or email, I can't remember.
Yes,
We had
Instagram.
this exactly, so we had a back and forth. Mike was like, "Hey, I watched some of your stuff on the podcast," which I was really honored by. That Mike was like, "Yo, I got
And you
some
have a
things that I
story
want to
behind
share."
it.
Yeah, we both have stories behind it, so we got connected, and now we have a great conversation. And initially, you said you want to talk about kettlebell sport programming. This is what I'm really into. But before we got started with the recording, we see that we have lots of stuff that we're going to talk about. So, Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Awesome.
much, my honor.
Awesome. Appreciate it. So, Michael, please give us your background. Where are you coming from? Why kettlebells? Why kettlebell sport? What's your story?
All right. So I am originally from Soviet Union, from the legendary and non-existing USSR. So I refer myself as a children of Atlantis because we literally have no land to go to. Unlike, like basically I'm an immigrant, but I have no place to go because Ukraine, where I'm originally from, is now Ukraine, but it's not the USSR that I'm from. So we came to Israel in the early 90s when the USSR got dismounted. It was pretty rough experience for me because I was basically how I call it, I was raped out of my environment because we were kids. I was 13. Okay, like things just began to go for me with my friends and with girls, and like I began to get some roots and everything. And then suddenly, like boom, you go to Israel. Like why, what? And so it was really traumatic experience. Like crying in the bus. It was like I remember it still. And to cut a long story short, my father left when I was 3. Left us completely. Haven't seen him. Haven't talked to him. And to me, it was kind of a quest. Like my mom worked, like she's a single mom, raised me on her own. We came to Israel. I began to work, hurt my back while lifting some, working in the grocery stores. And from here to there, I was kind of, like going round and round. School didn't go well because like an immigrant, and I had my issues with the country because suddenly like you're coming to environment where you are a filthy Russian and you're trying to explain people that I'm not Russian, I'm a Soviet, and your mother is a whore. So like go deal with it. But this is the immigrant journey. All right, like you see it all around. You see the great American movies. Every generation like gone through it. There was very nice people as well, but okay, this is the reality I've met. So eventually, like my life took me to some electric engineering to become an electrician, to become then I went to theater. Actually, I graduated from theatrical school directing, and I was on a crossroad because I came to senses that I don't want to pay the price that theater requires. Like to stage things, I wanted to stage because I wanted to shake people up. Because I went like with everything immigration. Oh, and I was robbed and became depressed and suicidal half of the way in the age of 16. So kinda, and for me, my father's heritage, whatever, like things like I had these mood swings. I said, okay, I need to fix it on my own because like the therapy as we know it, like, digging in my past is like, it's useless, kind of. Okay, I know, like, but practical tools weren't there. And to me, theater was kind of shaking people up and making them, go through something. Okay, don't just leave theater, drinking Coke, grabbing your girlfriend and, go to some other vendor. Like really, like wake up, okay, change, like there are stuff and like you're not aware. And so after I decided not to, and I said, okay, because it was like a really big price and I wasn't ready for it, my wife threw me like, listen, you're training all of your life and you fix your own back, kind of like you go back and forth. Why don't you go study, like, being a personal trainer?
Hmm.
And I have no athletic background whatsoever. I was very sick kid, okay? Like, the famous Bruce Lee story, very
Yeah.
sick, like
Hmm.
often. And because I almost died at the age of 2 weeks, so my mom went nuts and overprotected me. So I
Hmm.
was like overcovered. So it was quite a journey of cold exposures and like and everything. And I said, all right, fine, because it's still coherent with my vision to, like change people, shake people, trying to really go inside and really trying to change their perspective. And when I began to coach, like when I came there, I said, okay, like something missing because is superficial. Like people investing in superficial stuff that won't last when they 70, 30, like 70, 80,
Hmm.
60, whatever. Like your six packs are now, but what else? Like what is
Hmm.
there beyond six pack? Okay, what goes with you? Okay, it's like the Viktor Frankl's famous book. Okay, like if you don't have a meaning, like if you don't have a why,
Yeah.
like what's there? Okay,
No.
like why the big body? What's behind? Like why are we so stuck on the external manifestation while
Hmm.
the internal is missing, is empty, and we're trying to feel it? And you see it with consumerism, you see it with, dating, um, like, this training, trying to fill our life with stuff, but like the deep essence, like, was missing. Because I said, okay. And I begin to study. I began to study. I took almost every course and almost every certification. And then I heard the word kettlebell. And it was the 2000s and
Wow.
like Israel behind America by 10 years. Like,
Huh.
so the trends in USA from 1990s, and this is where Pablo started with John Duquesne, hit Israel in early 2000s,
Yeah,
like
same
10.
with Europe. Everything that in the US got popular took a couple of years and then
Oh,
it swapped over. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
interesting, because
Similar.
TRX made its way in
Mm-hmm.
2010, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and I heard this tool, kettlebell, it's functional training. And I was reading, I said, like, what the hell is kettlebell?
Mm.
And they showed it to me and said, oh, it's Giria. Like, I know it from Soviet
It's
Union. Like, I
Giria.
know that
Ah,
it's Giria.
I love that. Ah, it's Giria.
Yeah.
Just a different name for the same tool, right?
Yeah. It's
Ah,
like,
here
I
we
know
go.
it, but I don't know it because it was like the staple in the USSR. It was like that tool, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, I want to study it. Like, okay, I need to learn it. And I was lucky enough to fall upon a coach. He's initially yoga instructor, and he owned a gym in Israel. He inherited from his father, and his father did more of the strongman stuff, like Eugene
Yeah, of
Sando,
course, Felipe Napoli.
windmills,
Yeah, all
barbell
these
windmills.
guys. Yes, yes. Well, fascinating. And just on that side note, I know not only did I do some research in that area because of Geronimo Milo, who is a kettlebell, let's say the godfather of kettlebells of Argentina. Very cool guy, Geronimo Milo. And he sent me over some stuff about the old strongman. So, but he initially came with, "Hey, I've heard you're all into kettlebells. Here's some stuff that I want you to read." So I read it, and then I actually found out that the old class, the old time strongman, right? Felipe Napoli, Felice Napoli, and then you have, like you mentioned, Eugene Sandow, then you have Georg Hackenschmidt, then you have Dr. Krajewski, and all these guys. This is actually where, from the strongman, at least from a documented standpoint, you can see that the kettlebell has its origins right there. So actually, it's just we in the West, we forgot it. And then it found roots in Russia. And then it came back, it hit us. It was like, wow, it's something new. But you always heard these voices of people that said, no, 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 that's not something new. That's always been around, but we just forgot it. So keep going.
Absolutely. Because, first of all, Geronimo, I'm familiar with him. He sent you
Ah,
the kettlebell secret files. We
yeah,
were
exactly, exactly. Yes,
I
yes.
have another, I have a copy. It's an amazing work. He
It
did an
is.
amazing work.
It
And we
is.
were on, like, actually, I and him, we met in the training camp in St. Petersburg in
How cool.
2014. Yeah.
How
So I went
cool is
there.
that? Wow. See, and
Okay.
that
Like,
that's what I love about these conversations with these folks in the kettlebell sphere, because then I'm like, you met the guy that I had on, then you know this guy, you know this. So it's actually the kettlebell world is, we know it's small, but it's just it's such a powerful experience for me that I have people on that I can talk to, and you guys know each other. That's fascinating.
You know, I'll make it smaller even because Angie is your wife.
Yeah.
So I've talked to her. I've seen her via Kettlebell Collective. She was featured in Ian's Instagram feed, and
Yeah.
she was doing some snatches, and she told me, yeah, my husband, like my partner, he teaches me stuff. He was certified by Steve Cotter, and I know Steve from a workshop in Israel, so I know Steve intimately.
Of course,
as
Steve,
well.
OG,
Okay?
yeah, the sensei.
And then I found you, and I think like, hey, I know this girl with pink hair. Like, and then I got connected. I said, like, come on, like, how smaller it can be.
Awesome. It's
all right,
awesome.
Like, amazing. So it is
amazing
great.
stuff. But that's awesome. See, it's, and I think what is all, even though we may have some differing opinions, you know, even among the kettlebell sphere, it's just awesome if you stay open-minded, that you get connected to people from all around the world with the same fascination for that tool. And it just makes me realize again how small that world actually is. It's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like about opinion-wise, you'll not have different opinions. To my opinion, is just we were misinformed and misled. But we'll get to it in a second.
We'll get to it. Yeah.
So long story short, he showed me kettlebell. He basically went to the RKC with Pavel in the earlier RKC. He brought it to Israel, but he took the kettlebell from the more internal practice. And this is what I liked. He said, listen, don't rush for the weights, like feel, because there is a conversation between you and kettlebell, and kettlebell is the only thing who actually like can produce the conversation because it's a ballistic tool. Okay, like close this circle and like learn via like through kettlebell, she reflects you. And I said, okay, all right, so this is the first time. Okay, we begin to talk, like I begin to find some meaning into the practice because, okay, beyond the weights, right, like I'm doing 32s, but I'm not present, okay? It's like you're taking your kids out and you're like in your mobile, all right? You didn't have time with your kids, okay?
Yeah.
Like, fine. And then my friend, Michael Lisichkin, he brought a kettlebell, he was the first who got into kettlebell sport. He like pitched me the idea. He said, listen, there's this amazing thing, the kettlebell sport, like you stand for 10 minutes and you do, basically you suffer. And I saw it and I said.
Basically you suffer for 10 minutes, yes.
And I said
like that description.
Okay, like, you know, there is this great iconic American cartoon, Ren and Stimpy. It was the early Nickelodeon.
Of course we know
this cartoon. There was a horse there. Was so like, well, sir, I don't like it. I started to say, no, my friend, no. I'll keep my functional stuff. Okay, you do this.
Yeah.
So then he brought Igor Morozov, who is the like kettlebell sport champion, like very big guy who made transformation from powerlifting into kettlebell sport. And there I've seen the beauty and the elegance of movement. Okay, how beautiful and how easy you can something very heavy and like really heavy feel. And he showed us this trick, sorry, when he took 32 kilo kettlebell with his pinky and he pressed it up.
Wow.
He said like, this is the ligament strength you can develop. Now it was very amazing. And like, you know what 32 feels like.
Yeah.
And you see him doing jerks and snatches and like you're going, it's like Cirque du Soleil. You understand how hard it is, but you're saying like, these guys make it like,
make it
so
look easy. Exactly.
So beautiful.
I think it's the same vibes that I get from the weightlifting guys, from the Lu Xiaoyans and all these guys. The just recently saw I don't know what his name was. I think he's South Korean or he's Chinese. I'm not sure, but he's like 83 kg body weight, a little heavier than I am, but he clean and jerked 160 something kilos. And then I see on the ATG Insta, that's the feed that I follow, an account I follow on Instagram, where they let the camera roll in super slow motion when these guys clean the weight from the bottom up, and then you see the barbell come up. And what I actually find so fascinating, since you're talking about elegance, when the weightlifters pull the barbell up from the floor and you see it in super slow motion, there is this point, I think approximately at this level, where they go under the bar where the bar stays frozen mid-air.
Exactly.
And I mean, these are like 160 or the heavier ones, 200 kgs or whatever, really heavy weights. But through the powerful manipulation of the body and the barbell floats for a millisecond, and these guys jump under it, catch it. And it's a similar vibe that I get from kettlebell sport. Just with way more reps, of course, but the idea is the same. You manipulate your body and the kettlebell, all the weight in a way to make it look effortless. This is what it is. That's the beauty of it, right?
No, it is amazing. Like, it's amazing skill. Olympic weightlifting, especially like you see in powerlifting, you know, like you have guys without biceps, okay, the skinny ones, and they're the most impressive ones. They deadlift like almost 300 kilos, and like you don't understand where they're taking it from.
Exactly.
Like you don't have the external, like where your muscles, like where the size.
This is the concept of relative strength, where we know, and it's funny in our current understanding of fitness and strength, most of the time we look towards the Brian Shaws, the Eddie Halls, and all these guys being the strongest in the world, when in reality the weightlifters are the strongest in the world. Look at the weights that they move compared to their body weight. This is so incredibly insane. Like you're saying, where's the external? And this is one of the reasons why Anatoly, that YouTube guy, is so popular, because he looks like a regular guy.
Janitor.
He just picks up barbells, but guys be like, what is going on? This is exactly the beauty of, I think we talked about before we got started with the recording. Now you said it with the six pack and everything, right? Yes, the external is interesting, and of course we all want to look good, but it is another thing if you have somewhat a slight expression of strength on you, and then once you pick up the weight, people were like, oh my God, how is this even possible, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
I know, like it's like pimping weak cars. Okay, it looks good. It looks like a muscle car, but it has no engine. So like,
exactly.
Okay,
that's a good analogy.
So you may get a female into the car until the first light, when the real muscle car comes without any skirts and whatever, and just, you know,
just a sound. You're like, okay, this is the real deal right there. Exactly.
Okay. Like you're shaking.
Exactly.
So like, okay, and in the workshop, he showed it. I said, okay, I'm willing to try it, and I began to practice, and there was something in it, but I just couldn't like point my finger at. And then Michael told me, like, listen, like the first sentence he threw to me, like you need to stand, like relax, like absolutely relax, like stay like this retarded guy who is like drooling, like completely relax, and work from there. I tried it. I said, okay, there is something. And then he showed to me, go and meditate. And I said, all right, now this is concept that I like. So I went, and what the thing with kettlebell, like at this period I had, like, you know, still have, but you know, these voices and these mood swings, and like one time you're okay, next time you're not deserve to be alive because you're a nobody, and like you're weak, look at you, like there are big guys there, and like look at you, all right, like what are you doing? You have no abs, no arms, like whatever, like who are? And you know, this is rage, and you begin and then like you begin to get emotional, and you're getting angry. And kettlebell, it's like, to me, it's something like, it's an eternal tool, because it manifests the universe in itself. It's very patient, and it says like, all right, I'll go with you, let's try it your way. And you try to go, and you place the bell.
Yes.
And you place the bells. And then I said, you know, like I came to the point where I was completely like psychologically, quote unquote, broken, like humbled by the kettlebell. I said, you know what? Fine.
Yeah.
I give up. I go like let's do what you want. Okay? Like the secret in marriage. You say, let's do it, honey, and you do it your own way, but okay?
You're right. You're right. I know, you're right. Yeah.
All right, but I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's do it. You know, There is no me. I don't exist. What do you want? And the first time I listened to the kettlebell, and then I found out that the more I relaxed, the easier it became. So suddenly reps began to come, and I was kind of chilling. But it's, I've began to study, like, I listened to Zen and practical psychology. So this is, and then it hit me that this is the kettlebell. We'll talk about the kettlebell sport in a second, what's wrong with it. But this, the immediate manifestation of the concept of letting go is so immense that you understand how life works. And then regardless what happened to me in my personal life, I said, okay, it's like the 10-minute set with a kettlebell. Just relax. Feel the weight, okay? Let go. Let go completely. Feel what is going on over you. And then when you feel it, when you really feel it, it's easier for you to work it because you understand what you're pushing against. It's the same like feeling of water when you're swimming. It's not just, like beating water. You can really grab it. You can really catch it, and you can really push yourself.
I love that.
All right. So this is, and like from this is where the concept and this law with kettlebell sport as an iron meditation, like an internal martial art practice, became. And then I was training in the Tel Aviv University, like my friend, till today, like I was lifting my kettlebells, and I've heard like, Misha, you're strong. And I said, like, excuse me? Like you're talking to me? Like, who's strong? Me? I said, yeah. I said, like, what? And like, he's a big guy, snatches, like he was doing with no belt and no warm-up, squats with 200 for 10 repetitions, like, casual.
Casual.
And I said, yeah, casual.
For breakfast.
Yeah, like
I do this for breakfast. Yes.
Yeah, like, no training pants, no nothing, like boom, boom.
with boots, with jeans and boots
almost,
on. Yeah, these
almost.
guys.
Yeah.
These
like,
guys who eat rocks for breakfast. These are the guys. Yeah.
Exactly. And I said, like like me, like, no, please explain. He said, listen, your mind, like, I cannot do it. I cannot handle it for 10 minutes. Like your strengths of standing there and just being there, and like, it's like you are really strong. You're stronger than I am, because it's easy to clean or snatch the barbell for 1 rep. But I cannot handle to standing there, okay? And you're basically like, when you practice kettlebell sport, you practice life. The analogy is very clear. I'll get to it in a second. Like, it frightens me. I cannot handle it. And then when I opened my certification for kettlebell sport in Israel, I had like CrossFitters, like very serious guys and smart guys, okay? Like really, like, guys who took CrossFit serious and didn't abuse the concept, just earning money out of it, but really did it. They said, listen, we are afraid of kettlebell sport. Like, this is a single motion mindfuck. And we are absolutely scared by it because we cannot handle it. Okay, we can handle any whatever. Just don't make us stand at one point and like do the single motion and just like like be there. So like, this is in a nutshell my story, and I want to finish it with this analogy of when you practice kettlebell sport, you practice life, because here's the thing. What is kettlebell sport again? You're standing on a platform. There is only one platform you have, like in competition, whatever. You stand on the platform. You have a pair of bells, which are your bells. Okay, this is your working set. You have clock for 10 minutes. And the thing with kettlebell sport, if you accept the practice of this peaceful warrior, you're not setting kettlebells down by any means. Like, you will stand there, but you won't place the kettlebells until the clock hits. And to me, when I began like to really like go in deep and deep and deep, I said, okay, but it's the same thing. I have only one life. I was born at this area to these parents. This is my circumstances. Okay, this is my platform. This is my pair of kettlebells. This is what I got. This is the skill I was born with. I wasn't born with Richard Branson's skill. I don't possess the Arnold Schwarzenegger tunnel vision, right? This is my bells. This is my set. And I have a clock open. I don't know when it hits finish, but this is my clock. This is my life. I can check out early, but as long as the set continues, we're not putting kettlebells down because
I'll
we're
be
kettlebell
standing.
warriors.
I love
And
I love
then
that.
the only thing that matters, it's this beautiful understanding of presence. Because in kettlebells, because you cannot place them down, you can only fix for the future. So there is no reason of bashing yourself. This rep was shit. Like, if I'll continue think about it, the next rep will be shit, and then I'll begin to tear my skin, and then I will terminate the set. So the only option I have is letting go. Like, okay, it's irrelevant. What was. It was the past already.
Exactly.
All I can focus now is making the next one the most efficient and precise. And this is exactly what we have in life. None of us can go back and do the things we did, but only, like,
Yes.
the someday is today. So from today,
Wow.
make the next rep better. And this is how it progresses. So this is in truth and in depth what kettlebell sport is all about. And I have my thing about the kettlebell sport as a name, but okay, I've shut up. Now please talk.
We have to talk about this in a second. It makes total sense, Michael. I love this analogy. I never thought about it this way, that actually you have one platform, your life, you have one clock, your lifespan, and you have to work with it no matter what.
Yeah.
Like many people do, you can choose to terminate the set early, and then be defeated and think you could have done better, or you stick with it and you say, you know what, even though it's maybe not my best set or it wasn't my best rep, I'll continue. And where I came from when I got the proper knowledge and coaching from Steve Carter was, and this is how I use it now, not only in the way I teach, but also in the way I work with our clients. And that is, the beauty of kettlebells is that you're actually, any other training tool, you have to grab it to hold on to it. A dumbbell, a barbell, even a machine, or bands, or we can say, everything. Stones or sandbags, you have to hold on to it. What I like so much about the kettlebell is that you don't grab it, but you attach it to your body. So the biggest difference then is the dumbbell will always be an external system because you have to grab it, and therefore your weakest muscle will always give out early. Always. You can do dumbbell cleans, snatch, jerk, squat, whatever. You can do it, but always this muscle gives out, which is the weakest link in the chain. Therefore, you cannot use the true power that you have, which we have centered around here, around the midsection. But with the kettlebell is you attach it so you have but one goal in mind, and that is to become one with it. You have to melt with it. And this realization, and this is where I gravitate toward these ideas of kettlebell sport too, or at least in the ballistic sense, when we do the ballistics, and is you have to melt with it and flow with it. Don't go against it. Don't fight it. Give it the way that it wants, right? Give it in the backswing. Give it enough swing. Give it enough of the trajectory. Give it enough of that movement. Wait till the kettlebell wants to come back. So flow with it, feel it. And as it comes back up, don't rip it and grip it. Don't tear yourself apart. But as you reach enough amplitude and come back up, use the strength from your legs, work with it. And then you have to aim and catch it close to your body so that they feel comfortable. And I've started using the term, guys or gals, you have to become comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Oh, absolutely.
The bottom,
this is what
right?
kettlebell is all about.
Exactly. And it doesn't even have to be the kettlebell sport only exercises. The bottom of a heavy front squat with double kettlebells in the bottom position of the squat, it can only be one kettlebell, a goblet squat. Be comfortable with that position as you sit down as far as you can. You want to breathe in a snatch set where I can't breathe? Of course you can when it's overhead. Yeah, but that's way too hard. Yeah, that's why you have to lean towards to make sure that the weight is now leaning towards your bone structure and not towards your muscles so that you can rest overhead when you open up your chest. And all these ideas, which I love about the kettlebell, and I love how you said it, it's like the kettlebell's like, hey, okay, we can do it your way or we can do it my way, right? And that's something that I love about weights in general is that they don't care about your feelings. The 20 kg is always 20 kg. The 24 is always 24.
Yes.
The only thing that is not constant is us.
Oh
The
yeah.
weight is always exactly the same,
So yeah,
but we
absolutely.
change, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like,
This is
well,
powerful
what
stuff.
kettlebell teaches you, so like, okay, what kettlebells teaches you is is basically external listening. It teaches you communication. It teaches you the very like basic principle that if you want to get things, okay, you need to hear what other people want. Like there are other people around you. Because if you're listening to the kettlebell, like basically I'm a humble servant of a kettlebell. Because if I'll do everything for her, she will do everything for me. So eventually I am gaining my reps by giving up completely and serving her, but I'm not serving her. Kettlebell is manifestation of the universe, it's manifestation of physics, basic physics, Newton laws.
Basic physics,
All right,
exactly.
there is nothing else. We live in basic Newton law environments. So when I feel the correct angle, okay, when I really let go, I am elevated. Okay, so eventually, again, you understand how life works. You cannot force anything. We have no control over anything, and COVID proved it, and many other stuff prove it constantly. You plan one thing, you have a call from a kindergarten, please, George, come pick your daughter because she doesn't feel well, and you think like, fuck. All
Bam,
right,
everything
but I
changed.
did. I had other plans. Like nobody cares, right? So what? Like you don't have any control except how like respond to the control. Okay, what do you do?
Exactly,
and
man.
and it really, and kettlebell teaches you, because otherwise, again, no problem, let's go your way. Try
Yeah.
to grind
Try
it.
rip it and grip it and
Yeah,
see
no
what
problem.
happens. Try,
Okay.
no problem. Yes.
Okay,
and
like the last championship I've attended, it was snatch marathon, 1 hour.
wow.
uh yeah, it was fun.
Multiple hand switches.
Yeah,
Multiple
it
hands.
was IKFF, it was
From
10.
Steve. From Steve.
No, sorry, no, IKMF, sorry.
IKMF. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
IKMF,
Yes, yes, yes.
Stefan.
Stefan.
And
And by the way, I wanted to have Stefan on. I think it's a French guy, right?
yeah,
And I wanted to have him on, but last week I had to cancel it because it was so much work. But I have to get him back on. I have to get him on because I really have to talk to him, most
he's
definitely.
created something very beautiful, because he really took like the essence of kettlebell sport and stripped this 10 minutes like sports thing. And again, we need to talk, like people need to understand the historical concept of the system to really relate to the system. Otherwise, it's kind of like what is it? So okay, like, and again, as you mentioned, dumbbells are tools of inertia, okay, and they're subjected inertic tools, that they're subjected basically to the first Newton law. Like when you, as long as you apply force, the thing will move. And it, as you said, like this is why we use dumbbells and barbells. It works on the muscles, on the leverage, and develops muscles, because
Exactly.
you're holding something. Oh, by the way, do you know the history of a dumbbell?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. From the ancient Greeks, the halteres.
No, actually not. Like again, from what I found, the dumbbell as we know it by the way it looks, it was created in the 14th century for the church bell players to condition the wrist to be able to play the masses, the music, dangling different ropes without fatiguing. So they
Oh, that's
created this
interesting.
tool
Yeah.
that is called dumb. Okay, they have
The
bell, and they will
the
play.
word great, because what I had in mind was the ancient Greeks already used weights to
Yes,
manipulate their bodies and build these physiques. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had these great statues, right? And
absolutely.
they had these two pieces of stone. It's actually, when you Google it, halteres.
Yes.
It's two pieces of stone that you can grab like this, and it looks like a dumbbell. But the sense of the word, where this
The
comes
sense of
from.
the word, and the dumbbell as we know it, like it's, roundish on the sides with a thick
Yes.
handle. It's exactly
Wow.
to mimic the movement of playing without fatiguing, because you're serving God. You cannot
Fa-
like shake your hand in the middle of the.
Fascinating. Yes. I love this.
Okay. And kettlebells, since it's an inertic tool, it moves completely different. So it's like, and basically like what kettlebell does, it asks you, like Olympic weightlifting, the same. So with dumbbells, we build our potential to use strengths. We accumulate strengths, we accumulate size, functional size, it's fine. But then comes Olympic weightlifting, explosive moves, windmills, the other stuff, kettlebells, and says, okay, let's see how much of what you've accumulated you really can use. It's really to your disposal, okay, to do things, okay, be useful, okay? How can you use it and implement and apply it for longer periods of time? Because eventually endurance is the quality we are alive as a species today.
100%. I love that you bring this up. I think this is what I just recently, yesterday, I did some research about a German fitness coach who is selling a program, and he uses, of course, it's marketing. I understand a little bit how marketing works, so it's totally fine. But it's always the same expression where they say, yeah, and you can get in shape without the boring cardio. You don't have to do cardio. And I'm always like, yeah, I know where you're coming from, because it's like people hate doing cardio. So, of course, you're selling a program and you tell them, hey, you can get X without B, right? Without the, get your result without what people hate. This is how marketing works. I understand it. But the truth of the matter is, why do we always ignore our most important muscle? Or not always, but the cardiovascular aspect, right? It's like people look at you and say, yeah, but you look skinny, or you look X, you look this, because the only thing that we have in mind is these bodybuilding images that we have on social media. Back it was in the magazines, right now it's on social media, that you have to look big, your biceps has to be big, you have to be rah, 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 rah. And then, okay, so there you go. You have this big ass human, right? Big, strong, bodybuilding type. And what happens most, not trying to down talk bodybuilding. If that's your thing, do it. But what I'm trying to say is, like you're saying, when it's in the practical realm, in the physical space, in the world out there, which guys are the martial artists, the ones who love to pick apart the most? It's bodybuilders, because their muscles are so in their way that they cannot even move. And then sometimes you look at these guys being the strongmen, which I respect that. But we should be able to run 1K, 5K, 10K, because this is the human body is built like this. And the way we disrespect cardiovascular training to an extent, right, as at least in the popular fitness genre, this is something that really gets a hold of me, where I'm thinking, listen, man, cardiovascular training is important, because like you said, it's the reason why we survive, right?
Yeah.
It's the hunter-gatherer method. It's pulling stuff. And I always like to use this analogy from the hunter-gatherers. Of course you had to be strong, but when you throw the spear into the mammoth's skin, you have to throw it with so much force that it pierces the skin. So the other guys are throwing the jabs and boom, boom, boom. So finally the mammoth drops down. Great. Now what happens now? All the predators are coming. So you and your crew, you have to be quick. You have to chop up the animal. You have to grab it, and then you have to run. And you have to run back to your camp. And probably your camp is kilometers or miles away. So you have to have the strength, endurance to be able to carry the material back to your camp. And this is probably one of the most important ones. Killing the animal, yes, but what are we doing with the carcasses and the meat? Oh, we have to bring it back to camp. But I can't run. All right, so we leave it to the lions then? Right? So yeah, it's a small analogy.
Like, this is funny, because it's really funny and it's really sad, because the moment the industry got created, and industry don't care about individuals.
Yeah.
It will dissect and sell. So historically,
dissect and sell.
Historically, before, like, the original of bodybuilding is attributed often to Eugene Sandow.
Yeah, of course.
And like what happened, like he was a strongman, like a really good strongman. And then he just decided—
Very good looking. Very good looking.
He just decided, like, I don't want to be like fat dude in bathing suit. I can do whatever, like the things I do, and I can like get like cool and like look well. And this is what Arnold did. But then, when you understand, like, it's really hard to sell a very long journey. All right, so it's easier for me to sell, George, come on, here's the needle. All right, here's the program. Go stuck a needle in your thigh, go work out, you will have muscles and you look like big.
Exactly.
The shortcut, you will pay for it later, but I won't tell you that. And you don't want to listen to me because you don't interest in it, because you don't want to invest now 5-10 years on building something. All right, you just want to look good. Again, superficially look good. But and for this, answer of 5 reps or cardio, like it was very funny stuff. I always said, you know what? Come on, okay, fine. Let's make a not pleasant example, but very lively example. Let's say, God forbid, you have an accident. Hospital is 3 miles away. You have your kid bleeding. You need to get him fast, but you do not run. You don't do cardio. Okay, I wait 5 reps. So you're going
5 reps. Yes.
yeah. So
5
you
reps.
arriving to the hospital with a dead kid on your arms, and who are you going to blame now? Now you go and tell me, all right, where are your muscles? All right, where are these 5 reps or cardio shit? All right, where are these complexes of ladders? Okay, because if you overdevelop human, like the holistically and correctly developed human, like you need like at least to save your kid, because running a marathon is super specific. Okay, leave it.
Yeah.
But 5 to
Good point.
10K
Good
is
point.
like 10. It's like 10 pull-ups for men. All right, it's the basic. Don't do muscle ups. All right, fine, just do 10 pull-ups. All right, it's
Good point.
the basic strengths.
Good
So
point.
when the bodybuilding became, it was really, first of all, it was divided. Okay, it was Schwarzenegger, it was Jane Fonda. All the gay guys went to the right, all the cool guys went to the left. So, and then cardio kind of was, even sold as a kind of therapeutic. I have weak heart. Doctor told me to run. Nobody learned how to run because it's a skill. So people were like kind of rattling their bones in the sex, like
Yeah.
getting more inflammation. Okay, bad backs, bad knees. But this is not running for. And actually, Christopher McDougall, with his amazing book, Born to Run, kind of brought it back together. And then you see CrossFit, which took the Soviet GPP, it was a genius system, and he proved that you can look good and you can be super functional and you can run and you can swim. Like to some extent, you're not going to be pro. Fine, I don't want to be pro, right? But this is the overall, this ancient human that you and I are talking about. Because if you killed a mammoth and you shouldering it, said, "Oh shit, my back," like
I can't run. I don't do cardio.
Yeah,
I only throw spears. Yeah, but we have to carry the animal back. Right? This is and this is just basic understanding. And when you look at how the human being, how it works, I think it was an old anthropology professor, Hartman, I think is his name, Professor Hartman. I just paraphrasing the name, I'm not sure, but he said the human being is the turtle of the animal kingdom.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are not super strong. We are not super fast. We're something in between a little bit. And I love the fact that you mentioned the extremes. What is the extreme? Okay, one extreme is the guy who grows up in Kazakhstan at a farm, eats rocks for breakfast, and picks up his car to train.
Yeah.
Born with superhuman strength. The Goliaths of back in David times. These guys exist. Then we have, and I quoted this guy so many times and I still forget his name, or I can't remember the name. The guy who ran a marathon, I don't know what it was, in Berlin, I don't know what it was. It was 2 hours.
Oh yeah.
So, just to put this in perspective, if you run a marathon in 2 hours, this means you have an average pace of 21 kilometers per hour. If I go on my skill mill, on my treadmill, and I try to even reach 20, I am completely in the anaerobic. Yeah. I'm gassing myself out. I can do this maybe for a couple of seconds and then I'm dead.
Done. Yeah.
But this guy runs this at a leisure pace, like, oh, I'm doing this chilling, right? So these are the extremes. And this is, I think this is what sometimes people misunderstand when you say, listen, cardio is important. Yeah, but I don't want to run a marathon. Who talks about marathons? This is the extreme. And I love how you said it's like 5 to 10K. This should be a basic human skill.
Baseline. You can swim. This is what movement is all about. Basically, they took this idea of natural force and they said, like, guys, you know what? It's fine. You need to be able to do this basic. But what's wrong now? We are living in the age of abusement, where every good idea is abused to its extreme. So now, okay, nobody lifts, everybody crawls. Like, guys, you need to have the strengths, like you need to have a basic deadlift. Okay, the moment we're talking about deadlift, if you're not deadlifting twice your body weight, you're not deadlifting. Fuck you! Like,
Yes.
like who
You're
said
deadlifting kettlebells. Why are you doing this? This is not enough weight. Yeah, I get where you're
like who
coming
set
from.
these standards? Like, swing is shoulder height. Yeah, right. Please. All right, cut this crap. All
Who
right.
said this? Who's
Who said it?
I love, and we have to put a nail on this, and we have to jump a little
Yeah.
bit into this because before we started with the recording, you said, "Hey, man, with this conversation with Pavel and Joe Rogan was like, what is he talking about?" And so, if we stand on this point a little bit, is my understanding. This is now since we have broken a little bit critical mass with the YouTube channel. We're close to 100,000 subscribers. We have lots of people who reach out for kettlebells and stuff. And I have this amazing podcast, which I get to talk to bright minds like you, which I truly appreciate because it's such a valuable learning experience. And now you mentioned Bruce Lee. So I just finished reading 3 books, unfortunately, about Bruce Lee. Unfortunately, he passed away too early, so he couldn't write books himself, but he had very great notes. And so the books that I have in my shelf are books where people were talking about Bruce Lee and using some of his analogies and the notes and everything that he had. And what I like about Bruce Lee is, and this is my epiphany moment that I had reading his stuff, and that is he says, that's his Jeet Kune Do approach, the way of the intercepting fist. He says, I'm using no way as a way, and I'm using no limitation as a limitation. So this is exactly how I feel, 100%. That's why when people tell me, yeah, but the exercise X is supposed to be X, I'm saying, who set the standard?
Yeah.
One guy, which, do not get me wrong, I respect the guy, but you're saying that, hello, Moni, you're saying there's only one guy who set this standard. But don't you think that there's other guys out there with an even more impressive resume who see things differently?
Absolutely.
Right? This requires some mental gymnastics a little bit, but you have to understand, just because somebody says, this is where the kettlebell is supposed to go, I'm saying, and this is even how Bruce Lee teaches the 3 stages of cultivation, which I now incorporate in our learning experience and teaching experience, and that is, of course, if the first time you get started with the kettlebell, let's use the kettlebell as a tool. You said this, right? I'm paraphrasing what you said in the beginning, but it's like you put the bell down. It's like, forget it. This is too hard. This is, right? You try to do it your way. This is what you get. And I remember so vividly the first time I picked up a 16 kg for a workout without no knowledge in anything. And here I am, my bodybuilding self, right? And I was way more muscular back then. And the 16 kg is putting me down to my knees. I was like, how is this possible? I'm never going to use another kettlebell again in my life because it makes me feel like I haven't trained. It makes me feel completely unfit, right? So this is the first stage where you realize your own shortcomings. You understand that you're ignorant of the tool. All right. So if you want to reach stage 2, like you did and like I have, is you talk to a master. You get coaching. So now you spend a lot of time coaching. And what happens at stage 2? This is the stage of instruction. Yes, you have to learn mechanical stuff. You have to put yourself away, have your instincts put to the side, and learn mechanical skills. And of course, it makes sense then to understand, listen, when you swing the kettlebell, bring it approximately up the chest height, right? And then when you clean it, keep the arm a little bit closer to your body. We need that stuff. But here's the thing. When you reach stage 3, which I call the stage of inspiration, when you've reached the top of the pyramid, you venture out on your own, and then nobody cares if the swing is at chest height, hip height. Nobody cares because you've mastered the basics. Right?
Absolutely. This is I heard the paraphrase of it, that beginners learn form, intermediate practice form, and advanced invent form or recreate form.
Wow. Wow, this is powerful.
This is what you said.
Exactly what it is. Wow.
And
wow.
you need to be able to be humble, to empty your cup, move aside, and really absorb what what the master is teaching you.
Empty your cup.
Because, as my coach said, I'm not interested in hearing your opinion about my opinion. My opinion is mine and it's correct. I want to hear your opinion on the subject. So let's discuss the subject. Okay, so, go on your own journey, come back, and let's discuss the subject.
And let's talk.
Okay, and it's amazing because we can agree to disagree. It's fine, but we are discussing. There is no argument, and this thing that you know, like this must be this, like on this level, and this is the way to do deadlift or whatever. This is why people kill each other, because somebody says to somebody, "This is the only way is correct," and people say, like, "Come on." But there are not because, like, especially, and again, like I'm coming back to this, you know, kettlebell sport and how it gets a bad rep about it, because somehow it's, you know, it pushes people off because it's, you know, it's sport. All right, and at first I saw your video why kettlebell sport sucks. And you know, and you know, like at first I watched it twice, and I said like, what, like who is he? Why is he talking to like, you know, like all this Russian accent, like who is this guy talking about kettlebell?
Who's this guy?
I'm going to beat him with the stick, you know, and then, you know, and then actually I saw what you're talking about. I said, listen, I owe you a favor because you've just talked about what people really see. This is how it perceived. So let's jump a little bit into kettlebell sport. So here's the thing. In Soviet Union, fitness did not exist because in Soviet Union, everything was purposeful. There was like there wasn't like fitness soccer. If you're going to play soccer, you're eventually to become a soccer player to represent your country for the Soviet Union and, like, you know, to be this patriotic. Now, if you don't cut it, it's fine. But this is the mindset that you're getting into the school, okay, to play soccer. Same with weightlifting. There wasn't like the bodybuilding, like really got popular when the Soviet Union became like, were close to dismount, and the Hollywood movies, Commando, Predator, Rambo.
Yes.
So like, oh, these guys just look cool and kinda they're like useless, like quote unquote, yeah. Like they're not athletic, like they don't do anything with the muscles. And as Vasiliev said very correctly, it was born under the Federation of Weightlifting, and weightlifting is to produce champion. In Soviet Union must dominate. We are better than the West. We are producing champions. So if you're going to practice with kettlebells, like there is nothing like kettlebell fitness. You're going to practice sport and you're going to meet the numbers. So when, after Pavel got his breakthrough with kettlebells, and Soviet Union was dismounted, and all the Valery Fedorenko, and all the Russian names,
all the legends,
Merkulin, Mishin, the first wave of really, like, these are amazing athletes. Like Rudnev is basically, it's kind of like, it's like this tree in Avatar, okay? Like this is the coach who basically taught and raised all the great coaches in Soviet Union.
Wow.
Like he is Rachinsky, like this is like the man, okay?
Yeah,
Sergei Rudnev. And I'm dying to meet him, okay? Because Rudnev, like he coached my coach, like he is the man, basically, methodologically wise. And that's why I'm after methodology and coaching per se, because like I'm saying, if you're willing to train like Michael Jordan, I'm going to be a Phil Jackson, all right? But, all right, like you need to put there. And this is what Levi does. So these great Russian coaches, okay, come to US, and Russians don't know how to sell, all right? Like Soviets, sorry, all right? It's not in our DNA to sell, all right? So they're trying to sell you like, come, you do this great exercise, you will suffer, it will be painful, you need to stand for 10 minutes and jerk. And like, and there is like, you know, Pavel, like Darth Vader's swings and get-ups. Like people like, yeah. Like, and this is the only thing you need to do. Have a beer. 5 reps is cardio. And like people. And
5 reps is cardio, yes.
And you know, like, and if you're smart, you're saying like, fuck that shit. I'm going to stand 10 minutes suffering. Like, I got married to suffer. Like, I don't need initial suffering. Okay.
I got married to suffer.
Like, come on. Like, the worst business decision man can do is to get married. You're getting less sex, you're paying more money, you're more miserable, all right? If you get divorced, you're losing everything. So like, what do you, like, come
I
on.
see
like,
where you're coming from.
They think you get the man, right? So like, but again, like this is how kettlebell sport was sold, because they didn't use it, like, be useful, be purposeful. This is numbers. And actually, if you like, taking it seriously, this is no bullshit, because it's very easy, like in powerlifting, like in any athletic endeavor. Like, what's your squat, man? All right, like that's easy. Like, what is the numbers? How many jars you do in 10 minutes? What weight? So you cannot bullshit. Oh, I do this complex, that complex, because it's, you can lie to yourself. Okay, you can feel fit. You can create the illusion that you're training, but the scalability is not there, because in kettlebell sport it's very simple. All right, you're doing 100 repetitions, amazing. This
All right,
is why
yes.
snatch test works for hardstyle system, because Strong First is a brand, okay, but hardstyle is a system. It's a little different thing. All right, because you have a number, very easy. Okay, you have a specific number to meet under 5 minutes. This is as athletic as a sport as it gets. All right, and yeah, it doesn't look sexy. It does not build muscles like
Yes.
like
Yes.
this, and like it wasn't like presented this way. But again, if like you say, okay, let's and as we all unfortunately, especially like in West, before Soviet methodology of periodization got
The
to it.
GPP, the SPP, yeah.
Yeah, it was so the programming is often almost in every athletic discipline is first of all volume based. So you have stages, and we will talk about them.
Yes.
If you'll have the time.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
but it's almost like it's always volume based. The Western system is intensity based. That's why people get injured so very quickly. You like if you rush to the 24-kilo kettlebells, of course you will get injured, you will get frustrated, because it won't move, and it cannot move. But for you to pick up a pair of pinks and do some humbling journey, like, nah, man, it's for women. Whatever. Okay, but then again, people see this, the carryover of kettlebell sport, like of practicing the system, okay, of this soft style, okay. I call it like the iron meditation, the internal martial arts. All right, the ROI of this system is amazing.
And
Right.
see, I think that's the reason why I gravitated towards the sport exercises. I don't gravitate towards the sport itself, because I don't consider myself an athlete. I think you have to have an athlete's heart, and I have a different type of heart. I see that. I realize this. But I totally gravitate towards this kettlebell sport, especially snatch, long cycle, jerk. I do understand where it comes from, because it makes sense. Because you work with momentum, you work with the law of inertia, you work with a moving ballistic weight. So this changes the whole perspective. And that's why I kind of was always a little bit put off by thinking that I have to swing with maximum tension. Or, I even did a video. I did a video about the strong first snatch sucks. The reason why I did this kettlebell sport sucks is because it's YouTube, right? YouTube algorithm, then everybody watches this. All right. But funny. That's fine. And then I did the strong first snatch sucks. I did another thing about the strong first clean and jerk, where when you look at the hard style clean and jerk makes no sense at all. And I'm not saying this in a disrespectful manner. I think, and I love how you make this distinction, that hardstyle is a system and strong first RKC, these are brands. Yes. And I would agree to a certain extent, even though I'd also think that hardstyle is a little bit of a brand. If I break it down and deconstruct it the way I see it, and I'd like to know what you think about it. It is basically two ideas melted into one, what I'm trying to do. And that is, we have certain exercises that require high tension. For example, a very heavy front squat with double kettlebells, a very heavy strict press with double kettlebells, a lunge with double kettlebell. It can be one kettlebell only, a very heavy press with one kettlebell, a very heavy deadlift with a one-arm kettlebell, right? So these are exercises that require lots of tension, building IAP, intra-abdominal IAP, right? Intra-abdominal pressure for you to move as much weight as possible. That goes a little bit into the Valsalva breathing method, which makes so much sense because if you have to push a car, if you see a kid that's getting run over by the car and now the kid is stuck under the car and now you and me and two other guys, we want to push the car away. We have to, are we ready, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
It's an instinct. It happens
Exactly.
without us thinking about it.
Exactly. So this is high tension. Makes total sense to me. But when we use an exercise, and a couple of guys pointed this out to me because back when I wasn't that informed about kettlebell sport, I always thought that, the snatch is all about power and the snatch is all about strength, blah, blah. Until somebody told me, no. Once you understand the technique, the snatch becomes cardiovascular. I'm like, wait, what?
Developed this, he talked about it in his book, Cardio Code.
Great. And funny thing is, I think Dr. Kenneth J, he mentioned the snatch, but not from the kettlebell sport perspective, because he said when it comes to locomotion, right? This is what you need to build cardiovascular strength or cardiovascular endurance, right? Is locomotion. It's running, it's skiing, it's cross country skiing, everything. And I would argue that a kettlebell sport snatch, this also becomes a pure cardiovascular exercise in nature when you have learned the technique and you have built up the capacity. Understanding this now, I realized because of the ballistic nature of it, it becomes a cardiovascular exercise. That's why you said in the beginning, you have to understand the difference between tension and relaxation.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So if you tell me now, and even if we look at the example of the weightlifters, they move according to the most efficient bar path.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you're not able to lift this kind of weight. Doesn't matter how hard you tense your muscles, how much force you're trying to build up, the bar has to stay close to your body and has to stay as close to your center of mass as possible. And you have to also jump under the weight, relax, and then tense again, right? So it is this idea of tension and relaxation. And so when I look at a snatch done with maximum tension, it just doesn't make sense, especially from that perspective. You mentioned the snatch test, that afterwards you tell your folks that tension is everything. We do it completely different. But then you throw these guys into an acid bath of a snatch test, where 100 reps require a completely different biomechanical reality of an exercise, of an execution. If you tell me let's do 5 sets of 10 snatch, 32 kg, of course you can snatch it however you want, right? But if you tell me it's 100 reps, the whole reality of the exercise changes. And that's why, and this is so important. This is my point that I'm trying to bring across, and then I want to hear what you say about it, is I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to follow logic. This is the only thing that I do. And when I hear stuff like this that doesn't make sense, my brain starts working. And then I start dissecting it, look at it from different angles. And until you can bring me an argument that really makes logical sense as to why you do it that way, until then, I'm just questioning why you do it and why you sell it that way and think it's the best way or the only way to do it, right? So this is my point.
Absolutely. What Dr. Kenneth J basically argues, so physiological wise, aerobic exercise, aerobic workout or practice is cyclic in nature, and it considered aerobic as long as there is no abruption in your breathing. So the moment you're for a second, it's not aerobic because you begin to create this oxygen deficiency. Exactly. And slowly it will build up. So even the sports snatch, okay, we for a quick, but you halt for a little bit because you need to secure the bell, especially when they're heavy. All right, 16 are fine. 24ers beyond, for a second, okay, it's not the okay, but I am breaking my breathing pattern, and I restart, so it's not quite.
Not quite, but close.
But you know what? It's very close, and it's almost the same because there's the locomotion, and it's almost an endless movement, and I need to stop.
Makes sense. Yeah,
Second,
makes sense.
Okay, let's bring justice. let's do justice. There is no difference between kettlebell sport and hardstyle. It is one that was separated in birth, sold differently, and now they're kind of bashing each other. Because you need both. Okay, if you want, like runners, like every athlete needs strength. So if to do more repetitions, to be able, okay, to be able to manifest myself as purposeful human who's endured and can do stuff, I need both strength and I need my neuromuscular this explosive strength. I need to know how to light almost every motor fibers in my muscles. Okay, so I need tension. Okay, and to recover between creating tensions, to create more volume in my work, if I want to do strengths, I need my aerobic capacity, my muscular endurance, because if I'm endure, I can do more sets, more working heavy sets, and thus move more weight in less time, which makes me more efficient. So I'm getting more job done. So this is the yin and yang concept. We need both because I must do this sets if I want to do very relaxed and ease. Okay, they serve me very well. Okay, and like when I'm strong, and that's why I love barbells and strength training, the soft style, the kettlebell sport style becomes easier because my muscle know how to contract maximally. And now each jerk or long cycle by percentage is like, let's say 20%. And prior to strength training or strong or hard style training, because it's the same, okay, I'm working, like it doesn't matter how you develop explosive strengths. I can do deadlifts, I can do swings, okay, I can run sprints, okay, like for a very, like gross example, all right, because body doesn't know what we do. It understands how the muscles contract, okay? They understand physiological pathways. Either it's glycolytic, either it's aerobic, or it's pure neuromuscular, all right? This is the only thing it understands. You can pick up your wife, okay, for reps, whatever. Okay, you can carry beer kegs to your bar. This body
Stones.
don't know. It's stones.
Just
body understands,
stimulus.
oh, there is lactate
Exactly.
present. I need to grow. Oh, there is like this small but very powerful contraction. I need to get denser and stronger. Oh, like the dude doesn't stop. I need to improve my mitochondria. That's it. How you do it? Have fun. So, like this hard style will actually improve, all right, and help me to be more efficient in sports style. Because if I merely do sports style and I'm weak, it's the same problem with running. Each my jerk, each my pushes, let's say 100% or 80%. So if you're working close to maximum, you smoke out very early and you're frustrated. But when you're strong, okay, and you can squat, I don't know, 100 kilos, which is decent weight. It's fine for any person to be healthy. All right, so it's very simple. Then suddenly each jerk or each running motion, it's basically 20%. So for body, it's kind of very easy. There is no reason for inflammations, and you enjoy running. You can push, you can bounce on the floor more, and suddenly you understand what running is all about.
Exactly.
Same as with kettlebells. So this is the same thing, and it's okay to do these hard style snatches, but what is lacking? And this is like the question that many coaches afraid, like vampires afraid from garlic or sunlight. Why am I doing this shit? Like, why am I doing this exercise? And like, let me think about it. Let me make something up. Like, if you can understand, if you can tell me, listen, we are, I don't know, like preparing, and I'm doing triathlons, all right? Like also, like I'm doing big stuff. Okay, and in my preparation, I'm doing powerlifting work, but it doesn't make me powerlifter. I never forget that this is a supplementation for easy biking, easier swimming,
Yes.
running to some extent.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing hard style swings and presses, and the system is itself, this like karate kyokushin, it's amazing. It delivers amazing results in this very specific neuromuscular and neurological realm. But then there is the other stuff.
Can I ask you something, Michael? Do you think, if we stick on that topic of the hard style idea, for example, it makes total sense to me that when I grab, but maybe I've built up the capacity. Just recently, I did a couple of 64-kilogram swings.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
yeah, we have these monster kettlebells. The heaviest that I got just a couple of days ago is now a 92 kg, and it's awesome for deadlifts because the weight, it's just a completely different feeling with the kettlebells so heavy. Of course, the distance is not that high that the weight has to travel because it sits fairly high. And the other idea, what I like about the weight being confined in that little space right in front of you, is I feel a lot of shear force in my abdominals. So I'm
This is
kind of
what
like,
the kettlebells for, to train the
yes, yes,
abdominal, the
exactly,
midsection. If you
exactly,
want the
making it.
glutes and you want an ass, grab a barbell. This is what the barbell is for.
So what I like about is getting this. I call it the shear force, building my shear force tolerance with this very heavy kettlebell that I deadlift. But my question now, do you think that there is a major difference between me swinging a heavy 64-kilogram kettlebell, which I did a couple of days ago, but I didn't use that maximum amount of tension that I did when the first time I got it because I was a little bit scared. So I used this right? But now I feel like, wow, the 64 is really feeling good, double hand swing, and yes, of course I'm using tension, but not as much. Do you think there is a major difference between using lots of tension with a swing or using less tension with a swing? Do you, because you mentioned this from the karate, right? That description.
The Kyokushin system. Like
The
this is
Kyokushin system, exactly. Do you
Precisely.
think there is merit to it, the way how Pavel explains it with this idea that you just mentioned of max tension with a swing and all that kind of stuff?
So this is, beautiful question. Listen, it's basically what we're doing. We are doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in our lives. You need to know the exact moment when you do need to tense maximally to gain the most results out of anything in life. Same here. The question is, what is your objective? So if you want to learn to fire all the motor units at once, you must, because this is the way to do it. You must use maximal tension because this is what it teaches the body. Okay, so like it's not maximal tension for maximal tension's sake. Okay, it's not interesting. It's maximal tension to learning, to re-educating my nervous system to go off on demand. Okay, it's like Navy SEALs. All right, just they respond to situation immediately, and then boom, they react and respond. And this is the way I want to teach my, nervous system to fire up. And I must, okay, I must do this way. But I said, okay, now I want to teach myself because again, the tool reflects me. Kettlebell is a mirror. Okay, it says to you because whatever it goes and whatever it does, you did it. Okay, it doesn't have a mind of its own to go there. If it went there, you did something. Now you're reverse engineering, saying, okay, what did I do that it went there? And you're saying, oh, I have rotation and I didn't know that my body compensating. What is it compensating for? And then you begin this journey. It becomes very interesting. So if you want, like a DJ, all right, play with your nervous system, saying, I'm doing like this, like, it's basically you're doing fartlek workout. You're going maximal tension, minimum tension, moderate tension, and then you create music when you swing. And this is the beauty because this is the manifestation of the control of how skillful musician you are with your own body. And then the systems become one. Okay, we are bringing them home as a holistic structure, and they serve. Because to the same extent, I can tell you, listen, Gregory, you know what? Forget sport. Okay, don't have to compete. It's irrelevant. but for your own journey as a coach, as a human, okay? Try like see where the journey, it's not the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
where the journey to make
Yes.
10 minutes long cycle with double 16s will take you.
Mm-hmm.
See all the things it will make you feel, how much
Yes.
details you will be able to see and enjoy it. Please don't compete. As I said, I have like this the best, the worst thing in kettlebell sport is the word sport, because people automatically
Yeah.
have this rejection like, sorry, like I don't want to be an athlete. I don't want to be a sportman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I want to be a useful
Yeah.
father to my kids. I
Yes.
want to be like,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
word sport, it distorts it because it's automatically like, you have to compete. No, you don't. Okay, it's really kind of like it's
That's
the
why.
name.
That's why the description giveaway makes so much more sense than
Yeah,
just
okay,
kettlebell
because
sport, right?
giveaway or soft style or
Or
like
whatever.
or kettlebell endurance, actually it's way more correct term of like, go just see how efficient can you be, because like the beauty, like I believe it was Kurt Kowalski, the powerlifter, who said that technique is a thing that is biomechanically correct and pleasing to watch. All right, very beautiful this
Yeah.
description. So for me,
Yeah.
like standing in the main square in Switzerland, right, and doing long cycles, and people just watching me because they enjoy the visual, the
Yeah.
aesthetic of like, wow, okay, like Vasily does it, the great kettlebell athletes,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
They're like
watching them,
robots.
and yeah, and it's like,
Like
wow, and
robots.
you can really watch them like you watch a
Yeah.
fire, because it's so like it's something hypnotizing there. So I said, okay, what do I need to do to get to that level of aesthetics? And then suddenly, like, I don't care about 10 minutes. I don't care about the ranks. Like,
Yes.
I don't need to do them.
Taking away the traditional approach and making use of it in a more general sense. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I'm trying to do. So
The,
let me ask you
yes.
another question, Michael. So would you think, based on your experience, that there is a deadlift? Totally get where you're coming from. The recruiting of the muscle fibers to the neuromuscular system means, hey, tense and use as much tension as possible to lift that weight or whatever you have, right? Now, do you think there is a difference between me swinging a very heavy kettlebell with maximum tension and a heavy deadlift at the same time? Because what is the major difference? Both guys are firing up their neurons to recruit their muscle fibers. Is there anything out of a very heavy swing with maximum tension that you don't get out of a very heavy deadlift?
Yeah. The stabilizing component, because kettlebell moves in space and your body need to invest resources to stabilize itself. That's why kettlebell squats are not for legs, because your limiting factor is your arm strength. If you want to the legs, you put a barbell on your
Yeah.
shoulders.
Most
If you want core, if you want this midsection that is monster strong, which will ramp up your numbers at squat, because now the body doesn't need to invest that much stabilizing
the stabilizers.
I'm missing the word stabilizing budget, okay, into your midsection, and everything flows to your legs. You're adding plates and you're thinking, I got stronger. No, you haven't. You just got more efficient, because this is what kettlebells with the lower center of mass taught you to. Deadlift is an inertic tool. It just lays there. You need to drag it. And Dave Tate said it best. Powerlifters search how to simplify stuff, and bodybuilders search how to complicate stuff. This is their results. If you
Yes.
don't to kill the muscles, it won't grow. If you don't simplify the physics to its extremes, you won't pull 600 pounds or whatever like these guys nowadays do now. All right, they must be very efficient. All right, so this is it, and that's
The
why
stabilizing
smart
component.
powerlifters do swings,
Yeah.
okay, fire up this neuromuscular drive, and then they're pulling the barbell, which is they don't need the stabilizing component. It everything in the legs and the
I
back.
love it. I see. Totally 100% get it. I was kind of like missing the forest for the trees a bit. I totally get it. My next question, Michael, then I have to really jump into the programming because
Yeah, sure.
what I've learned about the idea is the GPP, SPP, right? You have the GPP phase, then you have the competitive phase, or the special phase, then you have the competitive phase, and the post-period phase. So you are very well versed with this. So this is what I have to ask, and then I have to ask you again what you thought about the Pavel conversation with Joe Rogan, of course. But now my question. Let's assume, I wonder what you think, because I ask this question often, and it's kind of like, let's assume we have a scientific trial, okay? So I have guy A, he's doing the sports snatch,
Okay.
right? And let's say he trains for 30 days with a very well-versed coach, and their goal is, hey, we just do the regular snatch set for 30 days, right? And he incorporates it for, let's say, like he usually does it. He wants to build up his reps in a 10-minute set, all right? So this is guy A. Now we have guy B. The guy B is the typical hardstyle fella who comes from the RKC Strong First School, and he does the same. He does snatches, right? But with this different amount of tension, and not with the goal to produce maximum efficiency, but like they always say it, which again doesn't make that much sense to me, is we go against efficiency and to work as much as possible, which sometimes I say, yeah, but you're wasting effort. I think there's a difference between using, like the bodybuilders do, using a certain angle to get more work done for it to get a great result, versus doing something that is just waste of effort. For example, if I have a barbell on my back and I have it right here on my neck and I go down, then the weight falls outside my center of mass, and that's more work, but it's wasted effort, right?
Absolutely.
So let's just assume we have these two guys. Snatch, guy A, snatch with the kettlebell sports style. Guy B, snatch with the typical hard style. At the end of 30 days, do you think if we test them for all sorts of things, let's say more strength, more power, more endurance, where would these guys be? Would there even be any similarity or difference? Or do you think this guy's will have a different outcome than the other?
Wow, it's a great question. It first of all depends on
And I like your t-shirt.
Yeah, thank you.
Burpees,
No,
that's what's up.
no,
Yes.
like burpees, it says, like the t-shirt, it goes like this. You see if you
What
can.
the horrible experience. Would give 0 stars if I could. I love the burpee,
Yeah.
but we got to talk about this. But let's talk about the scientific
Okay,
aspect. Yup.
so
What do you think?
listen, it's very much depending on their background, their how well they know the exercises.
Let's just assume for
If that's
for
ground
scientific
zero
sake,
for both, I
they have
believe
the
that
perfect
strong
background.
first-
Both
okay, I
guys.
believe that the strong first, strengths-wise, may have some advantage because powerlifting and hardstyle are basically the same. It's
But don't you think, if I may interject, don't you think powerlifting, the reason why these guys are so strong is because they move massive amounts of weight, not because they tense so hard. They tense hard because of the heavy weight. And let's just assume even a step further, and this is why I'm trying to get to a logical conclusion with this. Let's just assume a little bit further. Both use the same weight. Both use 24s, right? Both use 24 kg. What do you think? Is there really a difference? Do you think I can become stronger or more powerful because I tense harder with a 24 kg as opposed to the guy next to me who works with this fluent, soft type of approach with the same weight? Because where
I
I'm,
see.
I
I
think
see.
the outcomes are probably almost the same to a certain extent.
Um,
But please, go on.
yes, you know what? I'll tend to agree here on this because, yeah, the outcomes will be very similar. Absolutely, because eventually it's the same amount of weight, but because it's really, actually, you know what? It's really interesting to do such an experiment because here's the thing. In a kettlebell endurance, okay, in kettlebell sport, because of the single switch, I don't switch hands. so I really can do the cross-lateral section. I can do the cross-lateral strengths of on my body, all right, because I'm not switching,
Yes.
all right, and I must, all right, I absolutely must get stronger if I want to be able to snatch 5 minutes with no change, because
Yes.
every cross-lateral change, be it front change or rear change, all right, from my right side to my right glute
Yes.
and my
Yes.
right shins, okay, gastros, must be stronger. All right. And my core must be stronger because I'm not switching the weight. I need to learn how to use these muscles, how to manipulate these muscles, and eventually it may serve me. All right. I don't know if better, but it will serve me to the same amount like in the deadlift because the muscles are strong. And they just strong because they just know how to be there for 5 minutes. So like five reps are kind of easy. Um, but listen, it's a great question. But like on this, before we jump into programming, I do have a one sentence, which was proven very elegantly. You know who Terry Sanchez is? Terry Sanchez?
Yeah, Thierry Sanchez. Yeah, I've read his thesis.
No, he's amazing. Like he's amazing. And
Yeah.
eventually, when Pavel published Simple and Sinister, Terry just uploaded a YouTube video, said like I've like seen the Pavel new books and like here me doing it with 32 kilo, and he's a slim small guy, and eventually, eventually, if you want to kind of try at least for now for this time to wrap it up, not to wrap it up, but to make a summary conclusion, there is a sentence I've picked up from Ido Portal's workshop, and he told this very beautiful thing when you like thinking ROI and like how you training,
Yeah.
what to training. He said, I can do what you can do almost as good as you. You can't do what I do at all. So when I'm practicing kettlebell sport, I can do 5 sets with 24s. Okay, I can handle the complexes.
Yeah.
All right, not because I'm arrogant, because my body just can. But nobody, okay, who does a hard style can stand for 5 minutes with single arm switch. And this is the same analogy as you take power lifters and weightlifters. Okay, weightlifter is listen, they're not strong as power lifters. This is not their intention. Okay, but they can move a very high load. But explosive strengths wise, okay, like power lifters are, and again, okay, it's not fair to compare to them, but we are talking about people who, like in religion, decided to devote their lives to some practice, which is amazing. But if you're talking to the general population, and come on, we have only one life. We have only 24 hours. We have things more important. We have families, friends, kids, etc. If you're investing this amount of time per week in your physical practice, maybe you should consider practicing the systems and disciplines that will allow you to do more without doing it. So I ran my first half marathon almost without running due to kettlebell sport practice.
Wow.
I ran very little. I ran because I need the mechanics.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but I didn't need to do the running as the runners do because my legs could carry me. Like it was pretty nice. So I just ran. And again, I wasn't aiming for podium. I couldn't care less about my results. I want to have fun, and I had much fun. And you're saying, oh, it's nice. So I can do this, get these all benefits, and then I can, like, it's, all-inclusive package, okay? Enjoy from this stuff around me almost, like, I won't say effortless, but with very high return to investment. So why not?
Let me just that example with the power lifters and the weightlifters. I think yes, comparing these two is unfair because you're comparing apples with oranges.
Yeah.
They have completely different exercises.
Yes.
And they have a completely different approach to lifting.
They have body structure that is different.
Exactly. So it's not the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. But in our case, in the kettlebell world, we talk about the same exercise
Yes.
with the same weight, And we have two camps who say that we have to do it differently. And this is where I come from a little bit. And here's my point. If we have, and let's stick with the snatch, right? We understand the snatch from the kettlebell sport perspective, where we understand we have to have a proper hand insertion. We don't have the hand facing towards, we have it rather facing a little bit backwards so that the weight sits on the frame, sits on the bones, not on the muscles. We use this deflecting mentality where we drop the weight, we lean back, so we want to make sure when the kettlebell drops that it's close to the center of mass. When it drops to the backswing, we move with it, right? We go with the kettlebell backing up, right? So the idea is you move your whole body, and I had a conversation with a guy who's doing Tai Chi. I told him, the way we do kettlebells is you move your whole body into the exercise. He said, oh, same with Tai Chi.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so martial artists
absolutely.
gravitates towards it because it's moving into it with everything that you have, but not under maximum tension, but with maximal intention. So I want to go with it through the with the whole body. Great. And now here comes this other guy saying, no, wait, we do it differently. So we do the goose neck, boom, we drop it, I pull it back, and then I explode it up, and boom, I don't use back and forth, I stand rigid, I don't allow rotation, not at all, I just everything completely against it. And now here's my point. You can advise such a technique if the outcome is different. But,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
But if you have a technique that is completely different to what logic is telling me to move a weight like this, especially a bell with momentum and inertia and everything, now you say we have to explode it up and everything. All right, I get it. But do we have a different outcome at the end if we compare the two? This is my only point. And if we don't have one, then it sounds to me like you just made the snatch completely simple.
It is.
Took away all the skill practice that it requires to really learn the exercise. And this is, again, no jab at Pavel, but this is just my understanding. So if we have two exercises, we have one exercise, but we do it in two ways, I want to see two different outcomes. If we don't see two different outcomes, and you as well are saying it's probably kind of like different, then why are we having two ideas in the first place? Then why do it differently in the first place?
Again, you see, so kettlebell, like the sport style snatch, you can take it as an aikido. Okay, you are feeling the forces, you are moving with the forces, and you're allowing the forces to move you. Basically, the perfect snatch, like sports snatch, especially snatch, it's kind of kettlebell moves you.
Yes,
right?
yes.
You almost
100%.
at kettlebells.
Yes.
Now, the hard style is I am accelerating it down because I want to see how fast my body is reacting on anti-rotational stresses. So this is what is air cushion in a car. So in the time of accident, you need the air cushion to open faster before your head hits. And this is what hardstyle is perfect for. This is why, this is the reason for me to drop the weight and to lock and to see if my nervous system, if my muscle memory, if my core has this quality, because I must have this quality to lock and to secure myself into the powerful hinge, and then hinging upwards using my glutes, and again, building the skill of not running into the hyperextension via my lumbar extensors, but using the glutes. And this is hardstyle, this is where hardstyle is superior.
This is why you're saying it's a system.
This is a system. But listen, if you want to do 1 hour, and I've done hardstyle training under Master Fabio Zonin, which is an amazing man. Like, this man is so knowledgeable, and I was humbled to practice it. But if you want to do 1 hour snatch, multiple hand switches, sport style, after half an hour or whatever, your mind starts wandering. Okay, you slowly, like you're getting a little bit numbish because it's a long of time, and your technique, it's not getting sloppy. But again, it's a lot of time. It's like marathon running. Somewhere, like you begin, like, a little bit of hallucinating. And if these protective instincts are not present and wasn't developed by this hard style system, which is one, okay, which is the GPP, which is the foundation,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I am, uh, um, I am compromising my health and my result. All right. So that's why these two are coexist and coexist perfectly. But, and this is the same thing that happened with TRX. All right. It began to be sold for everything. All right. The solution to everything. You have marriage problems, do TRX training.
I see.
Like, dude, come on. It was
see.
invented by Navy SEALs to condition them. Okay. To like, this is a great tool, but for this purpose.
Yeah.
Don't pull it out of its context and make it a remedy for everything.
Don't
No,
make it-
kettlebell sports is amazing. But you know what? I'll take a guy to a series of hardstyle swings first because they're easier. And they build this foundation of locking, of understanding how this works.
Yeah, I see.
All right,
I see.
to become predominant, and then we can go chase volume. Otherwise, he will run into
Yes.
hyperextension, and his lower back health may be compromised. So again, and this is programming, and this is long-term vision, and this is what coaches do. Okay, you build programs and you create a pathway where you use the same goddamn thing, all right, with like a DJ with fade in, fade out on different components in different stages.
That's why, yeah, I see that point, and it's the idea basically is to make sure you're able to recruit your fast twitch muscle fibers, that you're able to catch yourself, you're able, I love this, to able, when there's kinetic energy coming, that you're able to engage the brakes, to catch that kinetic energy without, you know, when you swing, for example, not letting the hyperextend and then bend the knees and then fall backwards. And this is especially what deconditioned individuals experience. I mean, we see this all the time when they just start tensing their bodies. They do not understand what this means. The muscles do not communicate. The brain is not communicating with the muscle. They don't communicate with each other. So I see that approach most definitely. I think the only issue that I had or that I'm having is what you are exactly explaining, and that is pulling it out of its context. Understanding completely that this is what it serves you for this particular purpose. And I think some of the issue that I sometimes have, which many people have, is that if we walk around and we use a particular system and we use it as an absolute system that gives you everything, when you think, wait, I do understand the value of it, but you're trying to tell me that if I do this particular system the way you tell me to do it, which from a biological standpoint is completely diametrically opposed to the other aspect of physical quality. For example, the power lifter is not very enduring. The enduring guy is not very strong, right? Of course, because these are diametrically opposed physical qualities.
Absolutely.
And 99% of us who are in the health space, we need all of it.
Absolutely.
But if you are the extreme, like you mentioned in the beginning, you have to specialize in one particular area, which is also part of programming, right? Okay, we built the base and now we specialize. Great. But now you're telling me with this base building program, I have now everything? No, that's not the case, right? And this is the big issue. And
the dishonesty in the industry.
Exactly, and this is what marketing does. And this is what it you know, this, and now let's jump a little bit into programming, because they really helped me. I can't explain. I have a couple of books from Dr. Michael Yessis, who translated lots of Dr. Yuri Verkhoshansky's work, which I now understand, which makes complete sense with the preparation of the athlete, which you can then, of course, expand on. So first you have, according to my understanding, we have the GPP phase. So the guy comes in, or the gal comes in, and now listen, first we just have to get your base straight. We have to build up some basic strength, some basic endurance, so that we have a foundation that we can build our house on. Great. So we spend time doing this, boom, it's done, great. Now we have Sport X, which requires a specialty of X. So now in the second phase, we specialize according to what you need in that sport. Great. Now it comes to the third phase. After we've done this, now it's the competitive phase. Now we have to prepare you for competition, because now we start working with weights that challenge you and give you this competitive environment, so that your body is not shocked once you stand on that platform that you're not used to these weights. Great. And then you have post-competitive, where you actually do something completely different. Let's stop the weightlifting or whatever you do. Let's do something completely different. Get your mind off, get a little bit of rest, and then the whole cycle starts again. Is this a little bit what practical programming is all about?
Well, this is exactly what practical programming is all about in a
right.
nutshell, because this is the Soviet linear periodization system. Okay, you have the you have the competition phase, the competitive, and then you have the post. Okay, basically the deload, the off season.
Yes.
Now, many people but we are talking athletes here, and the general population that we are coaching, they're not professional athletes. So the way I approach it is from the physiological standpoint. Okay, we have we have basically three physiological system. Okay, energy system. Okay, energetic pathways. We have the explosive, which is the maximal. Okay, we have the glycolytic, which is the muscular endurance. Okay, so like muscle size is a byproduct of glycolytic training. Right, very simple. It's not the goal; it's a byproduct. Right, and of muscular endurance. And we have the aerobic phase. So, and these three must to be like coexist, okay, within the annual cycle. Okay, if you're like going into like perfect settlement. So, if we take a timeline, and there are no rules, but the logic is such that the first component must support the following. So they never diversify each other, meaning I'm starting with muscular endurance, my first block, and I can choose to, it's fine, okay, there are no rules. We're starting with muscular endurance. Now, the next block, and again, with me looking forward, what are we want to do? The next block, I can put either maximal strength, because improved endurance will allow me shorter rest times, so I can work on maximal strength, but it's not quite. All right, but if I put aerobic conditioning after muscle endurance, it's almost immediate transformation to upgrade my aerobic capacities. All right, same as after my strength block, I can put muscular endurance. Okay, because it merges. Okay, I'm strong, and now with strong muscles, they can take the beating of a volume to allow me safely to accumulate this muscle endurance.
All right.
So this is like how you varying it on a annual timeline. This is the way of thinking, all right, of a coach. Okay, I need one thing to merge into another thing, like the cog wheels of a clock. They need to turn each other. Otherwise, doesn't move. Then we go into each block. So basically, in each block, and actually what I'm talking now, it's not only kettlebell sport, it's for basically everything you do, because the general system, the general approach. You have a first component is a skill, okay? And skill, it is something that we do not practice. Skill we are not loading. We are practicing it as a skill, as a neurological pathway. Body is adapting, learning the movement. Then we have the main session, the main practice of this given energetic system. It may be like squat, press, deadlift. It can be long cycle, snatch, glove snatch, whatever. It can be running, etc. All right. Then we have accessory lifts. Okay, we have our accessory lifts, our assistance lifts. Now, here's the thing. This is the component for one block, and usually one block is 12 weeks because it's really easy to divide a year in 4 blocks. Again, we are not Olympian athletes. We don't need to make this, like, we need to make things simple. Okay? Less, but better. So skill is looking into the future. So when I'm doing skill today, let's say I'm doing Turkish getups. Next block, Turkish getups will become an exercise in the main section, and I'm going to load them because I want to progress within the skill I acquired. The assistance exercises looking into the past. From the previous block, what were my weakest links in my chain? My glute medius, maybe my, I don't know, like QL, my posterior chain was weaker. So I addressed the previous lessons in the current block, right? So skill goes to the future, and weak assistance works addressing the past. And the main block is the physical attribute of my given system. Okay, my main goal.
And that depends on the sport, obviously, right?
It depends on the sport, of course.
Yes. What is my? Let's say I'm a tennis player, or let's say a better example. Let's say I'm a marathon runner, so very extreme. So then, first of all, I probably learn. Even in the first phase, right, in the GPP phase, and if I may digress a little bit, if we talk about the general health population, what we are actually doing with these guys and gals is GPP the whole year.
Yeah,
That's it, right? Because they don't have to specialize in any given area because they're not part of the athletic population. They do not have to compete. So therefore, they just have to have the basic qualities of human performance, which benefits them for a better life. That's what it is, right?
absolutely. They must
Great.
have strengths. And
Yes.
stress is a skeleton. Strength is a skeletal ability to sustain volume for longer periods of time. This is what strengths do. The plain basic barbell, okay, powerlifting
Yes.
style,
Yes.
powerlifting approach, this is what it gives me. Functional muscle mass give me a better leverages, gives me a better joint protection if I'm going to be a marathon runner. I don't need to have a size of Jay Cutler, all right?
Yes.
But I need to have quads,
Yes.
all right? So
Yes.
like these understanding explosive strengths, I must do my plyometric movements because I'm running, and it's wise for me to do them. But again, I'm doing plyometric. This is, you see, this is the vision to the end. I'm doing plyometric out of a runner, not out of a jumper. Okay, because I can
From a
improve my
runner's
vertical jump, but I
Yeah.
will run as shit. So
So
okay.
it's I have to look at it from the runner's perspective, right?
Of course.
And let me ask you this. Dr. Yuri Verkhoshansky says that strength, like you're saying, like strength is the base. So strength is important, but, and here comes the big but, it is useless if you don't apply it to your sport then. And while that statement makes sense, how do you actually do it? Because it's like, okay, build strength. Okay, do your deadlifts, bench, and squat, right? Okay, great. So bring those numbers up. Great. Now, how do we actually transform and transfer that skill and that new strength into my sport? How do I do this?
Exactly. Fine. Amazing question. And he's absolutely right. So here we can securely check out the bench press because it's, if you're not powerlifting, you don't need to do it.
All right.
All right. You need to, like, and again, like we're talking about runners.
Yes,
Okay?
yes.
You
Stick with the
need
runners. Yeah.
okay, you need a stronger upper body because the arm movements makes
Yep.
running easier. So to that extent, okay, but again, I don't want to be heavy and big because it slows me down. All right, but I
Yes.
need some movement. So I will choose to do weighted dips, which is a more functional movement, as an example, instead of bench press. And here's the thing: the foundations will go most oftenly through symmetrical exercises like a squat and
Yeah.
deadlift because it's the basic and the simplest exercise. And also the thing with the squat and the deadlift, they are fundamental human movements. Okay, this is a movement of our motor development. Okay, and then I will move to Bulgarian split squats because I want the single leg strength and I want to see what happens there. And I will probably move to some RDLs, or maybe I will move to trap bar deadlifts instead of conventional deadlifts because they are more athletic-wise, they have better carryover to athleticism, the trap bar deadlifts.
Fascinating.
All right, and this is how we'll do it. And again,
And could you explain why, Michael? Why is the trap bar deadlift more conducive to athletics than the conventional?
because the trap bar is the same as with kettlebell. It's forgiving if you're squatting and not purely deadlifting, and you have a leverage on your lower back of zero because the bar is not in front of you. You don't need to spend time working on powerlifting technique of pulling, and you most certainly don't need to do sumo deadlifts because you're not goddamn powerlifter. You need
Makes
to
total
understand the
sense, yeah.
principle of pushing the floor, to engaging, to
total
connecting
sense.
with the floor.
And yet there's people, and if I may interject, and yet there's people like Mark Ripito who says the trap bar deadlift is crap. You shouldn't use it. But based on your logic, and I mean, I respect Ripito, and I have his book, Basic Barbell Strength, or Basic Barbell
It's
Training, which is
amazing, but he comes
it's-
from powerlifting.
yeah.
And if
So
you do powerlifting, it is kind of
exactly. So again, we have this notion that we're stuck in this bubble, and we're not willing to look outside. Just as a small.
By the way,
all right.
there is a guy. He's amazing. His name is Matt Wenning. I don't know if you follow him or familiar with him. Try to get him on
I
your
think
podcast.
I've heard it. I've heard it. Matt Wenning. Yeah.
Matt Wenning Strength. He's an amazing powerlifter. He's like, to me, I follow him. He deals. He's responsible on firefighter departments in USA, and he uses, and this is the beauty, he uses powerlifting to create firefighters, not taking firefighters and create powerlifters. He uses, and his thing that he's a champion in powerlifting, and he done it with almost zero injuries. So he knows technique, and he uses trap bar. He uses belt squat machines to reduce pressure from the lower back, because if you need strong thighs, you don't need to rack a barbell on your shoulder. All right, like there is no glory in holding here to 100 Ks if you just need to strengthen your glutes and to make your legs more strong. All right, there are other tools to that.
Yes.
Again, you're not a powerlifter. You are using powerlifting, same as I can use kettlebell sport, which I do, to make me a better, more resilient runner, swimmer, whatever.
Yes, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
That's
And
why I'm not chasing 32 kilos, okay? Like,
yeah, and with Matt Wenning, I think it is a base. Let me say like this: it is a hallmark of a good coach if he can take the system that he was born with, and that he used to gain his reputation and his prizes and everything, and then recognize that if I use it for a different population, I have to tweak it a little bit. Because isn't it the case that we as coaches are sometimes stuck in this ideological thinking? Because but that's how we do it, so you do it too. Yeah, but these guys actually don't really need it.
no,
Right?
absolutely. And you need to, because you are serving the people, not the tool.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one. And another aspect. Then we have to continue with your the programming idea, and that is, could you agree? Because I had a conversation with Gregor Sobochan, and the guy was really, we can say from a European standpoint, a very solid kettlebell lifter, right?
Yeah,
Gregor
yes.
Sobochan. So I had a great conversation. It took me like over 2 hours to talk to him. And as we were talking, he then said, he's now coaching a volleyball team. And he said, we're almost doing no kettlebell exercises. We do squats. And then we talked back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And so my question to him was, and that's my question to you now, since you have lots of experience of coaching athletes and people, and that is, would you agree that this squat, doesn't matter if it's a barbell squat, a goblet squat, just the exercise, the squat, is the one exercise that almost all coaches and strength coaches can agree on should be at least part of the curriculum for any athlete at some point?
Absolutely. I'll say that squats, deadlifts, weighted dips, and weighted pull-ups, and that's it. 4 exercises, like the staple. You know what? I'll always throw a Turkish getup inside, heavy ones, because they are amazing for overall flexibility, conditioning, proprioceptive, and everything. Okay, just a movement. But the basic movement, yes. Because you like the thing is people tend to forget squat doesn't make me a good volleyball player. Playing volleyball and doing volleyball specific training will make me a
Makes
good
me.
volleyball player.
Oh, that's
Squat will
important.
give me stronger legs, stronger ligaments, and all my endless jumping and landing. Uh, After heavy squats, body will treat it like, okay, it's like,
Yeah. No big
resting
deal.
time. Yeah, no
Yes.
big deal. And this is what I want. That's
Exactly.
it.
Let me ask you another question because you mentioned the Turkish getup. I have stopped calling it. I'm kind of like the dude. I
Yeah,
always
the
poke the
get up.
bear a little bit. I stopped calling it the Turkish getup and now call it the circus getup.
Okay.
I mean, if we look at the classic strongman, and the guy that I mean, we've talked about Geronimo Milo, and I've read through his work, and thanks to his work, I bought the book The Kings of Strength by Edmond Debonnet. And Edmond Debonnet was a French historian who kept records of these strongmen back in the day. So he even talks about Skanderbeg. Skanderbeg. I don't know if you're familiar with this. He was an Albanian. He's like an Albanian hero, but he considers him an Albanian strongman. So that's Skanderbeg. Then he talked about Hippolyte Triat, and Hippolyte Triat was in Paris, actually one of the first guys who opened up a gym for the regular public. So I think Edmond Debonnet dedicated like 10 or 20 pages to this guy and really said we have to give this guy praises because he was the first one to come up with this idea of a gym actually in the setting that we know it. So long story short, when I read through the work of Edmond Debonnet and from Geronimo Milo, we stumble over a man that's called Charles Bata. And Charles Bata was the guy who came up with an idea called that we now call the Turkish getup. And what he essentially did was just balancing heavy weight overhead and standing up while he's under it, and then having knives under his body so that if he fails the attempt, he's going to die. So the typical strongman physical feat,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So what am I getting? Because this is actually what I'm kind of like missing. Maybe I missed the picture, but I actually don't really see it. What makes the Turkish getup different from a goblet squat, a press, and a swing that I should incorporate and take the time to learn it? I see the value of, for example, straight arm strength, and it's a cool exercise. And you mentioning it in a specific aspect for an athlete, which also may make sense. But when I look at the general public, I think the Turkish getup is way overrated because it's been touted as an exercise that creates so many benefits. When I actually say the swing, the press, the squat, farmers walks, they give you just enough or even more benefits than the time it takes to learn a getup. So what is your take on this?
Um, okay.
I know we jump a little bit back and forth.
No, 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 it's okay.
That's how I.
Absolutely fine.
Uh,
So Turkish get up. I'm trying to get some. Let's
some
see if
lighting.
I.
Yep.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
lighting.
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yeah. It's getting
oh
dark
no.
outside. Yep.
Yeah. So Turkish get up is the exercise that goes through the motor development phases of human being. You are starting lying down and you are coming to standing up position using a very specific, strict physical angles, learning how to use your glute and your hip instead of your back. You're using how to stabilize. Okay, this is one of the best shoulder stabilizers exercise, except maybe a steel mace's 360s work,
Yeah.
because you're really in the close chain. You're going like the all 3D motion, and it teaches you to distribute your attention and your focus between the kettlebell, okay, which is the danger that comes from above, and the floor that is there, and you need to feel it, and you need to feel internal vision, how your angles, this is the proprioception, okay, how your joints are positioned without looking at it. All right, so this is a more like I don't want the word intelligent, but it's kind of combining everything into the one exercise. And the heavier they get, the more benefit they bring because you really understand how valuable each micro step is. You suddenly you understand why all the coaches talk about depress your shoulder, okay, like depression retraction. Suddenly you understand what happens if you don't. All right. Suddenly understand what is the shoulder stabilization is. Suddenly you understand how valuable your QL muscles are and what roles your obliques play in everything. And it's also the basic functional range of motion of our joints, because from health-wise, as elderly individual, if you can get up from a half kneeling position like a deadlift, because you don't have any stretch reflex, your knees on the floor, you're just resting, just standing up, pushing the floor. And if you can get there securely, hip, knee, ankle wise, you are for unless you don't, like you get some illness to die, you're going to be an independent adult, which is amazing, and it's a gift. So this exercise as an overall movement, practicing this developmental stages is amazing. But again, it doesn't need to be for just taking out of context and now all the swimmers need to do Turkish getup with barbells. It's maybe fine, but they can live without it, which is true. Yes.
And don't you think, and if we look at the Turkish getup a little bit closer. So you're mentioning the stabilization aspect of the shoulder, right? Going through these range of motions. From my perspective, I think a clean and press does that too, right? Especially when you turn your hands in. So the kettlebell drops between your legs, you turn your hands in, so we have internal rotation. So I come back into the rack position, the elbow gets back, the shoulder gets back into external rotation. And as I press the kettlebell overhead like this, I have to stay, if we do it in a straight line fashion, I have to stay in that externally rotated state where the shoulder has to, I cannot turn it in, right? I have to make sure, and I always feel this, right? I always feel this locking of the shoulder and then the turning out. So then I have this stabilizing aspect, which I think is one of the best things of kettlebells, right? When you press it overhead,
this is
which
what they're
builds,
for.
Exactly, which builds so incredible shoulder health. So we got that down with a clean and press. Now you're talking about proprioception. Don't you think that a solid and strong squat and lunge can give you the same amount of proprioception than a Turkish get-up can?
Listen, they obviously will, but the thing with Turkish get-up, and there are various ways of doing so. And this is actually, I have seen you feature them, like Denisov didn't need to go into the fields that he don't understand much.
That was funny. That was funny, right?
Yeah, because people sometimes grab a weight and just trying to stand them. Now in Turkish get-up, there are specific cues.
It's a technique, skill.
Angles
exactly.
that you want to practice for this angle and
yes,
sweeping, pushing, the side plank. Okay, like every stages. Okay, the half kneeling hip hinge is really. It's easier for people from the half kneeling hinge position in Turkish get-up to learn what glute actually do.
I see it.
Like extend and
standing
then
up.
It's like kneeling press. Okay, it's like I finally understand how to harness the strength through my shoulder. Now I'm standing up and I have a bigger kinetic chain, but I kind of tasted the blood, so I now understand what I need to search for.
Kind of like an overhead lunge, which is at the end of the Turkish get-up, which makes it so, which most people struggle with at the end, right? With the bell overhead and then standing up. And I mean, I see where you're coming from. Just based on my understanding of how the body moves and all the benefits that are touted and that are attached to the get-up, I just don't see how it really translates, or how other exercises do not give you that same benefit. This is where I'm trying to get to. And yes, there are unique aspects of it, which I think moving in this eloquent way throughout the weight when you have it overhead. But another bastardized approach of the get-up, if I may say so, is people claiming that it gives you this magical unicorn strength for grapplers and MMA fighters, which I believe is totally not the case. If like you said, how do I become a better grappler? By grappling. How do I become a better jiu-jitsu guy? By jiu-jitsuing. So from my perspective, if you'd ask me, lots of people ask me these questions, like, what would you do for MMA? And I always say the same: swings, squat. For they ask for assistant exercises and GPP style, right? GPP. I always say, you know what? Squats, swings, deadlifts, carries. Just the basic stuff. I don't think that the getup offers you unique values over other exercises. This is my basic premise. And it doesn't offer you unique values over the MMA fighters, because if that's the case, we would have seen what's his name? The guy who beat Connor.
The vegetarian? No.
What's his name? I think he's from Azerbaijan, like all these monsters are, right? I think I forgot his name. This guy would do it all day, every day, and he doesn't. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I'm not his coach, but I'm not assuming that he does a specific exercise, because I love what you say. It's you get better at your sport by doing the sport, and I love how you followed up with this, because this is what lots of people say, where Dr. Michael Yes is saying it a little bit differently, and you followed up correctly or in line with Dr. Michael Yes's. Lots of people say, hey, just how do you get better at basketball? By playing basketball. And Dr. Michael Yes agrees, but he says, but you can still improve your basketball technique with specific exercises for basketball. You can still improve your running technique with specific exercises for running. And this is where he follows up and he says, you can watch even the best runners have still flaws in their running technique, and they run all day. Absolutely. So a solid biomechanist is then needed to look at the exercise where you are wasting energy, tell you how to improve it and do it better. And this is then in turn makes you a better athlete. What you just said, right? Do your basketball and do your basketball specific exercises, and then you'll become better, right?
Absolutely. So there is an amazing lecture I've heard about periodization once from the NSCA guys, and he said, like, listen, improve, like, let's say our body is a car, is a vehicle, like improving vehicle car abilities won't improve the driver, but it will allow the more skillful driver to really take this car to the next level. So if you are a great basketball player, but your car is shit, like no matter how skillful you are, you cannot play. Okay? Now you need to improve the car and you can play, man. But again, if you're improving only the car and you don't improve the driver, again, you come to the same point. And then again, we are coming to the yin and yang term. Yes. They cannot be separated. To your question, the first phase of Turkish getup, when you're lying with very decent weight and you go elbow-wise, this is the only motion that can mimic this explosive force of the jiu-jitsu guys and wrestlers to kick his opponent. But when I took masterclass in weightlifting in Ukraine, I saw, and this is the only exercise they do, the wrestlers doing muscle and basically power cleans with barbell. And this is the exercise that improved their wrestling ability.
Wow.
Not Olympic weight. Not Olympic weightlifting, because they don't need the explosive strength. They need the raw strength of pure muscle clean. Boom. Almost straight legs. Boom. Boom. Okay. They were going like this, oil cranes. All right.
Like this.
Barbell. Bam. Bam. Bam.
Wow.
Bam. And this is the extent. This is the force of extension of a wrestler.
Makes sense. Makes total sense.
As functional as it gets. And yeah, Turkish getups won't cut it. Swings won't cut it. With all the respect to swings.
Yeah.
Right. Power and muscle cleans will cut it, because this is the leg force that knows how to drive. And then you harness your glutes.
Yes.
And you develop this huge erector, spinal erector muscles to grab your opponent
and then
to lift him.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And it just
this is exercise.
Yeah, and this just goes in line with, and this is important to understand, right? And this is what got me a long time. I was confused. I was like, wow, these are so specific exercises, right? Why are you doing these strange looking exercises? Until I understood, thanks to the Russian literature and what Dr. Michael Yesses said with Dr. Yuri Verkhoshansky, and that is, understand building the base is one thing, and then specializing is another thing. So if I specialize, I'm looking for exercises that mimic the movements that I do in my sport. Yep. Which then completely makes sense. And this is just this major distinction that we have to understand between GPP and SPP. And sometimes, and I wonder what you think of this. And then finally, we have to close with, I want to listen to what you think about the Joe Rogan Pavel thing. That's still in my mind. And that is, don't you think that sometimes we are training the public, and I say we, every one of us. I have some folks in mind, but I'm just saying every one of us because I've been guilty of this too. And that is,
we all have. It's fine.
Yes, I'm using SPP exercises for people who don't really need them, for the general public. And if I want to sell, but I understand the marketing behind it. Now, if I want to sell a program to the general public and make it look sexy and special and mystic and enigmatic, then I post a video or I come up with a marketing strategy with crazy looking exercises that nobody else is doing. And I'm saying the reason why they don't show these exercises to you is because the coaches don't want you to succeed, blah, blah, blah. So I make all that story around it, when in fact I'm using a couple of SPP exercises for wrestlers, like that power clean you mentioned, which build a solid base for the sport, but do not train you holistically. But if I just run a program that says do your squats, swings, deadlifts, press and dips and burpees, then it's like, nah, that doesn't cut it. Doesn't sound sexy enough, so I can't sell it, right?
You need to put a bench press in, and then you're selling
Oh,
it.
exactly. The bench press, which again is a funny exercise from the old-time strongman. And I love doing bench presses, and I enjoy the getup. But these are exercises that most of, in my case, we work as trainers. We have the general public. These are the folks who just need the basics. As far and wide as possible, a little bit of endurance, a little bit of strength, a little bit of explosiveness. They have to have fun. They have to think it's super enthusiastic that I come and continue this thing because it's so much fun. So this is where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, and this is it's an amazing point that you said right now, with general public, and we can talk long time about it, but in general public that is so deconditioned that they basically cannot wipe their own ass without getting shoulder inflammation. They don't need to do bench presses. They don't need to do windmills. It's too early. All right, just get them, as you're saying, get them the safest, exercises for messed up posture because of the mobiles and everything. So, again, put your ego aside, and you need to adopt the system to the person, not to beat up a person. This is what Soviet culture did in the whole, try to beat up the whole nation to a system, and not vice versa, because it won't work, and people will feel frustrated because of course you cannot do it bench press. You know how long you need to train. This is something that Jerzy Gregorek always said, that I am interested in processes that takes me 10 years, not 3 months, because 3 months it's basically nothing. Okay, I'm not invested. I know it doesn't scare me, but 10 years from now, taking me to that journey. So if I am, but you see, you need to be mentally, as a trainee, and you're basically becoming a student, so grown up and developed with so much experience that you're saying, you know what, I now want to take the journey of whatever it takes me to attain something. It's amazing. But for general population, there are many exercises that are absolutely abused. Burpees is one. Okay, it's not everyone need to do burpees. It's exercise that can injure more shoulders that good.
And let's just a little bit about burpees. So I used to not like the exercise a couple of months ago. I was like, nah, I'm never gonna do it, until I found out the origins of the burpee, which comes from a guy named Royal Burpee. So it was a guy who came up with the exercise for just understanding how we can classify and categorize people who want to go through. I think it was the military. I'm not that sure,
Yeah,
but
it was Navy. It was
for the
American
Navy. Great. So actually, what I like about the exercise is getting down on the floor on your stomach and then being able to stand back up in a good fashion so you don't hurt yourself. I think this is a basic skill that everybody can need. What it again, you said it, it's been bastardized or it's been abused over the years as this overly taxing, crazy exercise where you don't just stand up, but you also do a tuck jump at the end. So you use certain elements that can fatigue you very quickly and then do it in a setting where you have to do hundreds of them. This is abuse and this doesn't make sense. This is, and so the exercise itself gets a bad rep when instead the programming should get a bad rep, right? It's not the exercise itself.
It's exactly what happened to CrossFit, like at some point in some countries, all right?
Exactly.
Like the system is fine. It was abused because first the system was conducted for super professional individuals like first responders. And these guys who carry a basic strength within them.
Yes.
And then when a pencil neck dude walks in the CrossFit box and begin to snatch for time, of course he gets injured.
Of course.
But the system is okay, all right? So you need to give some stages, but it's marketing, it's everything. So like, listen, in a nutshell, if you can say before the burpees, because burpees have a couple of stages again that you need to do, but if you want to ruin something good, put it in the time cap or put it in the high volume on time cap.
Exactly.
The process goes like this. How well, first of all, is the first question, is how well. Then how often. So it's first technique, then frequency. Then is how much. Technique, frequency, volume. Volume comes first because you need to saturate your nervous system. It takes time. We are learning in reverse. First you do, then something stays.
Yeah.
All right? Then after how well, how often, how much, which is volume, then comes how fast or heavy. So intensity comes last.
So let me, again, how well is...
How well...
And let's just break this down. How well is the skill? So and let's stick with the burpee. How well are you able to go down on your hands, jump into a sprawl position, go down into a push-up, and then jump back up in the squat position on your feet? Great.
This is what Mark Rifkin says about one repetition. Okay, practice just one good repetition. This is basically in a nutshell. This is what you do. One good rep. Then you are putting it on a frequency, not volume. Many good singles during the day. So you're keeping a good technique and you're creating this muscle memory. Then you're asking yourself, okay, let's see if I've learned and if I can recreate it for multiple repetitions. This is the how much. This is the volume.
This is number 3, yeah.
All right. Then after some extent, you say, okay, let me see, like I kind of don't feel it. Let me see if I can some weight or some...
a body rest for the burpee, for example. Yeah.
Like again, the how much the intensity, it differs. So in kettlebell sports, it's tempo. It's not the kettlebell size.
How fast?
In runners, it's the speed. It's how fast.
RPM.
My pace. I can run 10K leisurely, but if you drop my pace half a minute, I'm dead. All right? So again, I need to redevelop my skill. And this is the beauty and the irony. This is how people slowly grow plates on their bars because they don't care about the weight. They just practice something and then it comes like, oh, I kind of deaf. I don't hear the movement. Let me add another plate. And then like, whoa, man, it's 4 plates on each side. And you're saying like, so?
Yeah, I've built myself up to this.
Like,
and let me get... I totally makes sense. So it's this how well, how often, how much. Totally makes sense. And let me give you another perspective where I come from a little bit, working with people who are completely deconditioned. I feel what Rifkin is saying with, hey, do one rep and understand it first and then go after it. Great. But here's my but. We work with completely deconditioned individuals. We work with people, and that's just human tendency. And one guy once said, listen, you can either be right or you can be rich. Meaning, yes, it takes time to build up to a certain level of exercise, but people want quick results. So I have to make or build a system and find a way to give them some results in a short amount of time so that they are in for the long run. Because taking the athletic population to the side who works with a 10-year plan, most people cannot even work with a 10-day plan. Of
course.
Right? Great. So with this idea of perfect technique, here is where I stopped following this practice path to a certain extent.
And you're absolutely correct. And this is why. You don't have to be right. You can be rich because you're business owners with families, but none of us need to be an asshole. Because here's the thing. When we create and develop the deconditioned human, and this is basically the stages of skill development.
Yeah.
First, you're creating what I called a skill framework, meaning that you're like in your classes, in my classes, deconditioned people come, I need to entertain them. I need to create some framework for them to feel good with themselves.
Exactly.
All right? The moment that this skill framework is set, meaning people coming almost automatically to classes. So basically, the moment people begin to prioritize their training, your classes, and they coming to them
I've done my job.
Thinking, then they're like, you're like a dealer, okay? They're hooked on a drug. Then you're saying, all right, guys, now let's begin to get a little bit like, let's begin to get specific. This exercise, now here's how you can level up it, okay? So let's focus on making it better. Now, people don't care because they're not struggling with themselves coming up to the class. They already coming, they already invested, they're open, actually, to benefit. But if they come for the first time and I'm like, okay, like this is how it's exercise is done perfectly. Actually,
you lose them.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not about the money. I lost good people that were willing to give themselves a chance to try to become the part of this health life. And I, with good intentions, really good intentions,
me too,
chase them away.
Yeah,
because it's too early.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. I agree, Michael. This is exactly. See, and this is what what I sometimes miss a little bit in our kettlebell space is a little bit this idea of I had a conversation with Nikolai from Pro Kettlebell, and it was a great podcast that we had a couple of days ago. And I told him, he said this: we have to pick apart, we have to take the kettlebell out of its dungeon, and put it front and center, so that people, doctors, physios, people with power, people in charge in the health space understand how powerful this tool really is. Now, if we slap them with the handbook on day one, we lose them. And this is exactly this idea of perfect technique. Let's just learn some basics first. Let's do some swings with light weights. The snatch is the king of the exercise. Yeah, it's a tricky exercise, but let's try with an AKG. Your swing looks good. Let's try the clean. Let's try. And I'm a big fan of experimenting. I've stopped being scared. And that's why lots of people come to us where they say, well, actually, I found help here. And I didn't find help with the physiotherapist because I was just doing this little bit of Twinkie stuff where I was like, this doesn't help me. I need to be challenged. Or did they say it differently? But from my understanding, I know your body needs a challenge because, like Dr. Vladislav Krajewski says, strength is the natural companion of health. So if I can make you a little bit stronger, probably we can reduce your level of back pain and shoulder pain and everything. And I am willing to experiment. For example, one of my clients, he now has a little bit of a frozen shoulder, so he's not able to bring it up. So here's what I always say. I say, listen, we are trying a press. If it hurts, we wait because it might be something's inflamed. Your body's telling you it's not good. You can't even extend it on your own without weights and it hurts. we're not going to press. But he said, no, it doesn't hurt. Okay, so we started pressing. Left side was totally fine. Right side, it was like, that hurts. I was like, okay, let's leave it away. We can train the shoulder without extending it overhead, because if it is pain, it means that it's too much. It's not discomfort, it's pain. So your body's telling you, no, we can't move to the exercise. Doesn't make the press a bad thing.
Of course.
It just, right? It just shows that, okay, your body's not willing to take it there. But I am willing to experiment. You come to me and say, my knees hurt. Let's try squats. What? Yeah, of course.
Because
let's try squats.
Usually, like pain usually is from a misunderstanding of biomechanics and distribution of forces of gravity. And the moment that you and this is again, like this is the private coaching sessions, but the moment that you explain to the person, and this is where actually going after technique is wise, you show them that in good and correct, like not good, there is no good, the correct technique for their leverages, for their bodies, for their bone lengths. They're doing squats, nothing hurts. And I said, here you are.
Here you are. That's
you
your
don't
exercise.
have a problem in the knees. This is the problem of movement literacy. But movement literacy is something that you need to learn and acquire because they don't teach you this at school. We learn how to read, how to write. Nobody teaches us to move. And it kind of, gets worse and worse with the mobile phones and COVID, like contributed the lockdowns and everything, because kids move naturally correctly.
Yes.
But then something goes wrong. Yeah.
We lose it along the way.
And you show them like, okay, do deadlift like this and your back is not hurting. So if back is really having a problem, the pain will be regardless. But if it hurts and then you do something like bracing and hinging correctly, nothing hurts. Like, man, like, what's the problem? Like, bring it, like, show me.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the movement. Let's practice the correct movement under load. Right? Because
exactly.
This is how
exactly. 100%. So,
you,
Michael.
Yes.
Yeah, let's finish this podcast with your opinion about Pavel on Rogan. And this is always something and let me just make this clear, because people so often misunderstand. I think this is just part of being human, because if you attribute your whole career or life or your health to one person, you automatically think that if somebody says something that differs from the viewpoint of the person, that you automatically try to disrespect them, which I'm completely not intending. I'm not disrespecting anybody. Like I said, it's an open discussion. It's an open platform. I want to talk about the truth. So just to give you my perspective on Pavel real quick, I think if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here, because Steve Carter wouldn't be here. I think at the same time that John Duquesne and Pavel saw a great marketing and money opportunity with kettlebells. Hence, they took it down that path, because Pavel was originally a stretching yoga guy to a certain extent, right? So you and I, we both know Pavel since we're in that space. Not personally, probably. I don't know personally. I don't know if you do. But anything he says something, I always listen. Just like if Dr. Brent Schoenfeld says something about hypertrophy, I'm listening. If Ido Portal says something, I'm listening. So if these heavyweights have something to say, I listen. But I've also reached the peak of the pyramid, where I consider myself an expert too, with my own experience, with the knowledge that I've learned. I know where I stand in that space currently, and then I form my own opinions. With that being said, I think we stand on shoulders of giants with Pavel and all the likes who came before us. But of course, he sometimes says things that I see a little bit different. So what did you make out of the conversation that he had with Pavel, with Rogan?
With Joe?
Yep.
Well, again, as you said, none of us would be here today if not for Pavel, because he was able to create something really beautiful. And I've met him personally on Plan Strong certification. I went to Italy to learn. Yeah, and he's an amazing person. Like, he was a very humble person. Like, his knowledge and his understanding of human body, his knowledge of the old, Soviet literature, obviously, and the things that he picked up is amazing. And what you've discussed with Joe Duquesne, this is something that, like, it's hands down for Pavel because very few do it. He always mentioned people he takes his idea from.
Yeah,
Very few
he does that.
coaches
Yeah,
have the
he does that.
decency, aka the balls, all
To
right,
do
not
that.
to be afraid and saying, listen, it's not me. I've learned this from him. I took it from him. I took it from her. That's fine. And like the only thing I can say, and I've heard, have you heard his podcast with Tim Ferriss, Pavel?
Just a couple of sound bites, not everything.
Okay, I've
Is it
heard
worth listening to?
Actually, yes, and this is my take. The Tim Ferriss podcast is somewhere better than Joe Rogan's is because I believe it was no, not Steve Reeves, Andrew Reeves from Strengths Matters, I believe, who said that Pavel will do everything to put up a good show, and this is kind of what it was like it was 2 hours of basically nothing said, of recycled stuff, of like,
with Rogan, with the Rogan concept.
With Rogan, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, it was like very, shallow, kind of very protected, and like, you've reached like really that peak as a person that people tattooing your brand like Harley Davidson, and this counts for something, all right?
Yes.
Again, we can debate on it, but eventually, like Iron Man, all right, like they're basically people who are finishing Iron Man tattooing the cooperative logo.
Yes,
on their shin.
that's massive success. You cannot. That's the peak of success.
Because this is really something like finishing a full Iron Man. Like, man, like this is how I started. I said, okay, I want the tattoo. Screw everything. I eventually will slowly build myself up to do the full Iron Man and do the tattoo.
Yeah.
So I was like all this, and like, man, if you don't want to do podcasts and you want to be like this mystique figure behind the mask, be it. But if you're coming, like, why or what are you afraid of to expose yourself? Why you like, what is there? Because it was like really like I waited and it was like 2 hours wasted. And Joe like really tried, and Joe not pushy guy.
Yeah.
And and like he tried to make his opinion on CrossFit and like really conversation.
Nothing came out.
Come on, man! Like you are an amazing coach. You created something, and many people still learn from your books. Okay, like your Naked Warrior is like Mark Rippetoe Starting Strengths. Why can't you say your honest opinion? And it's not about being rude or like why this manierism of, like keeping this persona, okay?
And you're mentioning this exactly. This is where I want to say jump in. The persona. You have met him personally. I've had lots of folks on the podcast who said I met him personally. John Duquesne said he's a very humble guy. He's a gentleman, very eloquent in his speech, which contradicts his persona.
Yeah.
So was he like this on the podcast the way he was with you?
Nope. Like I didn't have coffee with him.
Oh, okay.
We kind of talk. We spoken.
Yeah.
But when he led the certification, it was less of a half-naked 20-year-old Pavel talking on the videos of Russian kettlebell invasions. All right, it was more mature. Like it was Pavel.
That's
indeed,
normal. Yeah.
People love it. Okay, people buy it, and fine.
Yeah.
But in Joe Rogan, I believe he almost hyped it up a little bit. This, I don't know, like whatever, like this mysticism, and it was like
it's the mysticism. Yeah, I think
why
putting on the show.
Man,
yeah.
Come on, like.
And it isn't it. I think it's like you said. If you want to be that mystic figure, go ahead, do it. But I think a man with that level of knowledge, I think it's so sad that he doesn't talk to more people outside his own circle. The only thing is only your own circle. This is what you communicate to. You talk to the choir, and that's it. But you don't talk to anybody, or you don't reach out to completely different fields where it's not just about strong first or the idea of iron cardio and all the kind of stuff. No. It's just I think that's exactly what I'm missing a little bit. But funny note though, when I did this video, I don't know what video it was. I said, I think it was the Strong First Snatch video, where I said for fun, I think it's sad that the Strong First YouTube channel has all all comments disabled, right? So
Because
if that,
it's the Soviet system.
right? So
This is the Soviet system.
I say, you listen, you don't question, right? So this might work.
The party is always right.
Yes, exactly. So this might work back in the day, but now since the whole world is connected, it doesn't. It makes you look a little bit authoritarian. Like, okay, I'm the guy, I'm the boss. You listen. Funny note though, the last stuff that they posted on their YouTube channel was A, in color,
Oh,
and B, comments were open.
I see. So maybe.
So maybe they are, and I talking to younger guys a little bit in the kettlebell space also on the podcast, and what we kind of see is that the kettlebell takes on this completely new form, and that you have to move a little bit with time. We respect our KC and Strong First, but the world is opening up to different ideas of kettlebell training, which now would be so important to have all these voices coming from outside, not just giving seminars to their own choir, but like Pavel, being a regular guest on the Joe Rogan podcast, being a regular guest on these other outlets that we now consume information from. And this is so sad, right? If you've reached that level of success and knowledge and peak status, why don't you just share with everybody, right? But
be human, and eventually the comment was like, I believe that they slowly understanding that with kettlebell sport, again, kettlebell sport, especially with what Stefan does with the IKMF,
IKMF, yeah.
Marathon League, slowly people begin to see that, hey, like there are guys doing stuff with kettlebell, they kind of do stuff that we cannot do. They can do stuff we can do. And
we have to open
instead of reaching out, I had a conversation. I wrote him a letter pitching a Giri Voice sport curriculum, like some workshop or course fused with Strong First. Like this is something that Fedorenko did, and he at first was pretty open to hear.
Yeah.
And I said I believe it can improve, which it does, like endurance wise, like that. And I believe it has a home to do, to introduce kettlebell sport, again, system to create better Strong Firsters. I don't want to take Strong First and make them kettlebell sport. I'm not into crusades, right? But I want really to share the tool that can, why you're saying no to something that can really boost your performance up. You don't need to switch sides.
And what happened? What did he say?
No, nothing. It fell between chairs and said no, I don't think that is. I don't see how it can mix. It was fine. But with this invasion and slowly people more and more doing kettlebell sport stuff, what Levi did when he transmuted to kettlebell sport, and this is how I met him. I was super excited. People slowly begin to see and to understand that this is something more, we're doing justice. This is something more that was pitched originally, and it's not only this 10-minute sets with 32s, this is those. No. You can enjoy with double eights or whatever.
Yes. We break away from tradition. And there's so much value in it. If we break away from the traditional approach and we open it up to many parties so that everybody can get involved and learn from both sides, all right? And I like I said, I like the hardstyle approach, the idea of, especially with the single kettlebells, or let's call it kettlebell fitness, right? With presses, squats, deadlift. This is totally fine. This is awesome. This is great. But what I've also seen is that Strong First, or these guys, are rather close-minded and say, I don't want to learn nothing about kettlebell sport. And then you have the other side, the kettlebell sport folks, who say, no, I don't want that bastardized version that Pavel came, who he just wanted to make money, right? So So it's both sides that kind of like always clash, but I think at the end of the day, it's part of being human, right? It's tribalism, right? So this is my tribe, this is your tribe.
But eventually both sides are losing.
Yeah, you're right. Agree.
Okay? Because both sides, because unless you are, again, like a kettlebell sport athlete who competes and earns from it, you can gain so much more from doing, this hard style stuff and really learning what this tension and breathing behind the shield is all about. Really learn it, okay? Like ego aside.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you're saying, it is part of being human, and I hope things get better. And this is again, like this open-minded, as you're saying, you don't have to do long cycle with 2 kettlebells. Grab one. And again, this is what Stefan did so greatly. And this is what Steve Cotter did.
Yeah.
When he softened a little bit the hard side. He said, listen, there are so many grays. You can be explosive, but not to all people this extreme explosiveness resonates well in their body. Some people get pain. Oh, okay, do less. And then people like, wow, I can do less tension.
Yeah, totally fine. Go with. And see, being one of Sensei Steve's pupils, I have taken his approach and I developed it a little bit further to an extent where I call it the hybrid. And recently I just borrowing from both worlds, understanding both worlds to a certain extent. And that's why I came up with this idea where we've gotten lots of requests from people if they want to get certified with me, the way we teach it, the way I do, because I work with regular people, deconditioned people, over 40s, over 50s. And we focus on kettlebells almost exclusively. And then I had some testing and we had some coaches that we work with, which works really fine. And now I'm really working on that system. And I recently thought about that name, which I'm now going to give it to that system. And I call it the Getaway Hybrid Style. So it's exactly the idea. I love the word getaway because pertaining to kettlebells, everything that has to do with kettlebells, hybrid, understanding that there are 2 worlds that we can borrow from, and then we create our own style out of it. And I think Bruce Lee's work and his philosophy has been so instrumental, just like what the IKMF is doing with Stefan, and that is breaking away from tradition, making it your own, understanding the basics, understanding there are some mechanics that you have to learn, but then you can break away. I mean, we do 6-minute sets with our clients. And 6-minute sets in the sense of 2 minutes of hand-to-hand swings, 2 minutes of the clean and press, 1 minute per side, and then 2 minutes of the snatch. Yeah. So people work for 6 minutes continuously and they love it. Of course, it's taxing, it's intense, but they enjoy it. They get this feeling that only kettlebell training can provide you with when you work with it for longer sets of time. And funny thing, Michael, and this proves to me that the kettlebell is still in the dungeon, is when I talk to other trainers, they think, kettlebells, they can improve your jump height. No. It's not just athleticism. Kettlebells do they touch every aspect of human performance. Not the best way, but they touch everything. That makes them so powerful. Yeah. So we still have so much work to do with putting the kettlebell out there and making sure it's not just either this or that. It's just, it can be, like you said, it's a mirror of yourself, so make it your own.
Absolutely, my friend. Exactly.
Appreciate it. Michael, we've talked
3
like
hours, best 3 hours.
I really appreciate it, Michael.
Yes.
Wow, I really appreciate it. We help aspiring kettlebell coaches become confident as kettlebell practitioners and educators in only 10 weeks. If you want to find out more about our method, check the first link in the description and sign up for our waiting list.